Jay,
Absolutely.
say hi to the people, my man.
Hi to the people, my man. What's up, Pasha, man? Glad to be here today and be hopping on this live stream with you, man. Absolutely. We've been talking a little bit offline for actually technically over a couple months, but there was a dry spell there for a little bit. But we just had a like exploratory call, I guess you can call it, the other day, and yeah, man, excited to see what you got in store here today. Because you said you got a secret list of things that you want to talk about and stuff like that. We just kind of go however you want to go, man. Just
Man,
and
I
maybe
appreciate it.
whatever people want to suggest as well too. Whoever's watching in too.
Put the comments in the chat. Let's get it up there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So you made a in that conversation, right? The infamous discovery briefs. Um, I like to, I'll be learning. That's how we build because I think it's very important to know each other so that
Yeah,
once you know your strengths and weaknesses, you don't have to worry about some converting into something you not. It's just like as a unit, as a team, as a deployment, as a nation trying to arrive at a destination. We're gonna need individuals in all industries and all sectors of work. So just tell us what you do and let us see how you can be you and work towards this goal that we got commonly. It makes it easier to overcome all obstacles once we agree on the destination. So you had a great play on words for ideas, and I took that and made it the title of this conversation, the value of independence.
hmm,
And then we brainstormed the comma, both personal and music,
absolutely.
because we wouldn't be wide at seven without going into the American versus United States citizen mentality. And there's a parallel with that with music itself.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
I
absolutely.
want you
Because
to
like
open up
there's
with
like
that.
yeah, there's like the independent versus the signed mainstream type shit. You know what I'm saying? I can cuss
Mhm.
freely, right, on there.
Do your thing, man.
Okay, all right, just
We
making
we
sure.
we
I
stand on the
forgot to
freedom
ask
of
that
speech
question.
here.
Yeah, freedom of speech. That's what I'm talking about. I just can't say certain ones or else YouTube will get crazy. But fucking bitch. But anyway, so so yeah, I mean there is a difference between that. You were talking about independence and everything. I'm like, well, what I do, what is try to help musicians become independently stable within their music.
Mhm.
And what that will actually do is create a life of personal freedom as well, because a lot of people they get a misconception that's actually getting broken down a lot now. The misconception where a lot of people think that, oh man, if I get signed, I'm gonna have all this money and I'm gonna be able to, live this life that I always wanted to, a life that I can't live right now and everything like that because I'm getting strapped down by, poverty or whatever situation that they're in, you know what I'm saying? And they don't realize that for most of the people, when they get signed, they actually get strapped down even worse. They're in extreme debt. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, oh yeah, my car note is 25K and my house is 125K or whatever. No, 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 no. We're talking about a couple mil in debt to somebody who's charging you way beyond loan sharking rates of interest on top of the loan that they gave you, which they call a record advance. And they call it an advance because legally it is. They advance you that, just like fucking, cash advance, payday advance. You know what I'm saying? They charge you like 36% interest on average at those places.
Mhm.
What do you think Universal Music Group or Warner Music Group is going to fucking charge you? You know what I'm saying? They're going to charge you a lot more. And then that's when they hit you with a 360, which is infamous. A lot of people know about that, where basically they take a piece out of everything that you do because they put that into the what they build for you. You know what I'm saying? They own you. I mean, that's what it is, and when you
Why you
sign
think
to
that's
a
so
label,
important
they
to
own
him?
you. What was that?
Why you think that's so important to him?
That
To
they own
own to
you?
own you and your likeness and your content. Why is that so important?
Well, I think that's so important to them because they, throughout the years, they have seen how music can expand into so many other avenues. And if they put their investment, time and financials into an artist, for that artist to then go beyond them and make a bunch of money, you know, that defies their business model, because now they're seeing it from numbers only. You know what I'm saying? They take the morality out, take the humanity out of it. They look at numbers and finances, because at the bottom line, that's what business is, you know? And they look at that and they're like, well, I'm missing out on all this. So technically that's a loss. You know what I'm saying? Why not get a gain? And so then they wrap everything in. And one thing that they also do too is they will like, oh yeah, we'll take care of your studio time. We'll get all the videos done for you, everything like that. Everything will be taken care of. You don't have to worry about shelling out for all that no more, right? And that sounds dope. But then what you don't realize is all that you got to pay back off the top before you even get yours. See, what it is like, if you got an 80-20 cut with your record label, right? You get 80%, they get 20. That's at net profits, not gross profits, right? Because let's say you grossed, which is all the stuff before taxes and expenses, right? You gross $100 million, right, off of your sales this year or whatever. You're like, oh man, I'm gonna get $80 million, man. That's gonna be dope, right? Well, then you end up only getting a couple million. You're like, wait, what the fuck? And they're like, oh, well, you know, we took our 20. Yeah, it's like, well, we took our 20%, and then we fronted out, you know, for all these videos, all this touring, all these PR stuff, all this marketing, blah 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 blah. Cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. Next thing you know, you're like, oh, what the fuck? Oh, I only got a couple mil. Oh wait, what about that 1 mil that we advanced you? Yeah, we're gonna take that back right now too. So you only get 1 mil, and you're like, well, I just bought a $4 million house. It's like, well, you better figure out how to fucking pay that. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think that this is a super critical time to that? It's a very pivotal point where the labels are like not starving, but they need to really dig in now and get as much as they can and lock in as deep as they can, and that put the artist at risk. And I'm gonna get into why I'm asking that question.
Yeah, I think it is, because I think they see the tide changing when it comes to technology, and technology giving the availability for people to gain more independence financially and with their music career. And I think that they're seeing that and they're like, okay, we gotta come grab that. You know what I'm saying? Just like how, you know, all the governments around the world, they saw how Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies were starting to gain the ability for people to have 100% autonomy and independence away from their central bank system. And they're like, no, we gotta shut that down. And then now they're coming out with their own. And I mean, I have a personal conspiracy theory that the government was behind the creation of those anyway, because those are the ultimate track and trace device. Like you think you're getting tracked and traced by this, or by your credit card transactions and your Venmo and your Cash App and all that shit. Dude, they say, oh, crypto, it's an open ledger. Everybody can see it. It's like, yeah, everybody can see it. But then guess what they can also do? They can also say, oh, this CBDC can only be used on groceries today, or oh, you can buy groceries however much you want. However, you can only spend, you know, 20% of your money on meat, or whatever the fuck they want to do. You know what I'm saying? Gas or whatever. It's like, oh, you've been hitting the bottle a little too much. We need to turn that off on you. Stuff like that. It's like the ultimate nanny state and stuff. And so I think that's how these big companies, these big media companies are doing it as well too, you know, because they started adding contracts in that have to do with podcasting, you know, and they started doing all that kind of stuff. And that's something that you gotta really read through your contract, because they'll use legal jargon and all kinds of stuff like that, and speak in riddles sometimes too, in order to go through that. And so that's why I just recommend don't fucking sign.
So you make some great points. That one, that's why we based a lot of conversation here on etymology, because once we realize that the words we use every day mean something totally different, it'll help us better interpret those contracts, better understand the law. And the reason why I think this was a great segue, and it's part of one of the amazing intangibles you have, is your ability to see right through the veil, and we have similarities there. So by all means, feel free to speak on conspiracies and all that stuff here, because they're not conspiracies, but we know that. But we're gonna keep going.
Absolutely. Well, no, it is a conspiracy. It's just not a theory.
Right. Well,
you know, whenever people used to call me, like back in like, you know, the 20 teens, people were like, oh man, Harkos, you're a conspiracy theorist. I'm like, no, I'm a conspiracy realist.
right? The plot thickens.
Exactly.
So look, here's why I think that's an amazing segue, because it's a battle going on, and I really appreciate you allowing that build up to actually now take us to the bridge of this conversation, okay?
Mhm.
Because it's a critical time in the US and America. Two fronts, two different entities, two different mindsets coming to an intersection, a clash, a crossroads. And music has been weaponized to control the masses for years.
Yeah.
And if you want the history of that, right? I mean, all we gotta do is go back to like the Civil War period, right? Because during this, not Civil War marches, but then move forward to the Civil Rights era, right?
Mhm.
Because during the Civil Rights in the United States, it was like a time where people were looking to end segregation and discrimination against a group, right? African Americans, and particularly African Americans. They were fighting for their rights, but they weren't the only ones fighting for their rights. That's
No.
quiet as kept. For independence, equality, and freedom from systemic oppression, right?
Mhm.
So my question is, looking at today's environment, we're still fighting. It's just a different fight. And now the fight is you and me and all of the owners, the original content makers of all those CDs on the wall behind you, which is an amazing fucking wall, my dude. Right?
Appreciate it. I collected it myself.
So
In
we're still
real
fighting the
time.
same fight. And music is the liberation and also the weapon against us. Speak on that for a moment.
Right. So, I mean, speaking of liberation and the weapon against us, so in 2017, I actually started a media company. And the goal of that was to have an overall company for a radio show style podcast that I want to do, because I knew I wanted to do a podcast. And I was kind of mixed between, am I going to talk about like politics and governmental bullshit, or am I going to talk about something else, right? And so then I was like, well, I know some great artists that are not getting their traction, right? So I created a radio show style podcast where I played their music and stuff like that. I did that for about 4 years. And what's really interesting is the name of that of that media company is called Fight for Freedom Productions. You know what I'm saying? Because my whole thing is that on the podcast, I was always talking in between the tracks and everything like that about, trying to get independent and everything like that. I was bringing in, current events and everything like that, especially once, 2020 started wrapping up and stuff like that. I was bringing in current events and everything like that and talking about how, that's why you need to try to be financially independent and everything like that. And, that really didn't get me what I wanted it to do, because it wasn't reaching how I wanted it to reach, which is why I took a couple years off and I shifted into actually directly working with artists to help them create their home base to launch their operations from, in order to fight for their own personal freedom. You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of where I go at with that. But I mean, even on like a personal level, I mean, I always talk to people. I'm like, hey, if you got the ability to, like, if you got a yard, learn how to garden. You know what I'm saying? Even if you're in the city, learn how to garden. Like, fuck, dude, I had an apartment and I had a balcony,
Right.
and I had built like a 4-shelf little planter that I grew stuff on outside, and then I had some stuff growing right inside and stuff like that. Just trying to learn how to grow whenever I just had a little bit of anything, and that's just kind of like an analogy for, like, no matter what you do or don't have, try to learn the best you can on how to just become independent in any way, shape, or form. So, yeah, I help a lot of people out with their musical career independence and stuff like that. But I mean, I also work with podcasts to help them grow their stuff as well too, because I specialize like in marketing and branding and just like, building the whole base operations, kind of getting that going with email marketing and all that kind of stuff, and building a real fan base. But it's all about trying to help everybody be independent as much as possible, because I'm trying to be that as well too. And all the education I've learned, I'm trying to spread that around, because I know that education is the key to unlock the prison that we're trapped inside in our minds.
You know, and that's where music comes into play on both sides.
Absolutely.
Like I'm using this. I'm gonna have three periods, actually a couple more periods of time I want to cover in parallel to this conversation, because they're amazing analogies. Because it's that rule or that saying where if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. So
Absolutely.
we got the civil rights movement. We're going to talk about a little bit in parallel the commercialization of music and control in the 20th century, and then we're going to maybe hit on a couple other areas, and we're going to get into the surveillance and digital age that we're in now. And when you were saying earlier about artists not getting their traction, and then you were having the your own like mental contest about the direction you wanted to take, because where you want to go political, do you want to go government? I don't see any separation, because the reason the artists aren't getting any traction is because of the political environment and the agendas, right? The conspiracies, the control mechanisms that are shaping the music industry, which is what makes people want to go independent to begin with. Then what happens is the independence becomes a problem, because now you created a vulnerability, because you are independent versus the whole mass industry that has the agenda and the quadrillion-dollar backing to manipulate and control even the platforms that we feel like as independent artists are now our freedom to express. Because look at Spotify, for example. Everything sounds good for Spotify until you realize that the three major labels own 18%. So guess what? You're basically splitting shares with a label, even though you're not signed to them.
Well, the three major labels actually take 70% of Spotify's earnings off top. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't know that, and we actually the episode is releasing Wednesday, whenever, so that'd be in the morning. The episode is releasing in the morning, where myself and my co-host actually broke that down with all of that and everything like that. We went deep into that based off all this new information that's been coming out. And what's really crazy is that I, with my conspiracy theory mind, right, I said, I guarantee at least 50% of Spotify and all of them are owned by the major record labels. And I was saying that a couple months ago, which is crazy as fuck. Whenever I found out it was 70%, I was like, holy shit.
That's interesting. I didn't 70%.
Yeah, they get 70% of the gross income because they
hold on. What is that 70%? When is it 70%? Because I'm looking at the stockholder, like they own 18% shares.
So they own the shares. But what I'm saying is they own the shares, but then they also get 70% of the gross before Spotify can cover their expenses and before they can pay off the indies, because they own the rights. Included. Yeah, exactly. Well, no, because indies are in that 30%. Because the big three major record labels, they own the rights to all the music for all the major artists. And so
that's what I was wondering, was it the major artists or
and so since that takes up, so since that takes up, they own about 70% of the talent on Spotify.
Got you. Now I see where you're at with it.
They get 70% of the revenue and stuff like that. And so then that leaves 30% for Spotify to be like, all right, well, we got to pay all these indies. You know what I'm saying? And if you think about it, man, whether you know it or don't, whenever you make a swipe with your card, there is a 2.8 to 3.5% processing fee that the company that you're shopping at has to pay in order to process that transaction. Every transaction, you got a couple percent, boom, 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 boom. Well, whenever Spotify is sitting there like, man, this artist over here got 800 streams this year. Well, I got to pay them out, $2.85 or whatever. But then I got to pay like $2 for a processing fee. Well, fuck, I just lost money damn near. You know what I'm saying? And so I could see why they implemented this new 1,000 stream threshold. And what's really crazy is some people are bitching about that. I'm like, you telling me you can't get 1,000 streams in a whole year? Like, you got something else to worry about than not getting your $4, motherfucker.
Nah, it's bigger than that, because
what do you think it is?
I did a video on that, like the day after the article came, day or two after the article came out, right? And this is where I got those when I was doing the investigation for that video. Those numbers that I was talking about. So, but the thing is, what it is that if you are the enemy, right? The opposition of this liberation of music. Okay, you're the labels. You're trying to maintain control because if everybody all of a sudden became no need for label completely, where you gonna go, Sony? Right? Okay, not everybody. I know everybody don't have the rich aunt or uncle or grandpa to Taylor Swift it up, but it's only a matter of time before society just don't need the label anymore. So what they did was, now at least see why the 18% ownership as a whole of the stocks is so big.
That makes
because
sense.
Now
I wonder how much the
hold on,
big
watch
three,
this.
yeah.
If we well, go ahead. What were we gonna say?
I was gonna say I wonder how much the big three own of DistroKid.
That's something we should look into. But let's watch this.
Yeah.
So now you as the labels have the ability to manipulate the market, kind of like the mafia patrolling the block, right?
Right.
So if you create a condition for Spotify to quote unquote fail, which they haven't really turned a profit since their inception, now you being an 18% majority holder, guess what? You get left with the keys. It's a whole platform built for you that you didn't have to invest in, you were profiting from, and now you can exploit to the fullest if you can just make them go out of business, Netflix and Blockbuster.
Yeah, that's one way to do it. But like with Netflix didn't start turning a profit until they started coming up with original content, which is what Spotify is trying to do with podcasting, and they actually make more per episode off of podcasting than they do off of more per stream. Sorry, they make more per stream off of a podcast than they do off of music. So that's why they're shifting more towards that, because it's more profitable. But yeah, I like that concept, because that does make sense, because if they own it and then it just keeps losing money, and then they can come in and just buy it with all the money that they've been making off of dividends plus off of their money, then they can come in and buy it, and then they own it, then yeah, they win, because it's a hostile takeover kind of situation,
And the manip was the indie artists thought they were being free from the label the whole time. They were splitting their profit 20% with them, and then they get taken over and be back on their label anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Or they'll have it situated to where it's like, oh, well, if you want this reach, you got to play by our rules, just like a lot of the social media companies do and stuff, which is why a lot of the things that I talk with artists about is like, hey, put your shit out on the streaming platforms, right? But try to funnel all of those fans to things that you control. That way, if something goes awry, then you have the opportunity to remarket, keep in contact with your people. But then also at the same time, there is no guarantee. I said this on a previous episode. There's no fucking guarantee that just because somebody streamed your music one time on Spotify and maybe listen to it a couple times, there's no guarantee that same person will get your next release suggested to them. There's no guarantee. But if you have direct communication with them, even indirect communication where they're following you on social media and you can make a post, right? Then you have a higher percentage availability to actually get them to listen to your next track. You know what I'm saying? You're completely at the whim of other people. That's not independent. You can say, oh, I'm an independent artist all I want, but you're not independent if you're reliant on somebody else's algorithm, somebody else's platform, everything like that, solely for your success. Now, if you use their tools, because it's a free tool that you don't have to invest in, you know what I'm saying? But you have to invest like your time, maybe a little bit of money to learn how to use it properly, put some money in marketing and stuff like that and get it going. But you didn't develop the motherfucking app. You're not paying, Amazon for all the server space. You know what I'm saying? Nothing like that. But you can use it to your advantage. And there's different ways, I'm not going to, spill all the sauce, but there's different ways that I suggest to people to be able to use those streams and the audio in the stream to kick people back to their website and stuff like that as well too, so they can build the relationship with the person and actually create a fan instead of just a listener.
I like it. I like it because ultimately, what we're going to need to do to become more transformative and change the community is we're going to have to take the battle to the airwaves.
Mhm.
But they already know that. Just like if we go back to the civil rights era, the segregationist anthems like the song Dixie, Southern anthem was rally cry for those resisting desegregation, right?
Mhm.
And then you had the suppression of civil rights anthems going on.
Mhm.
So the same way you got censorship going on now, and we're coming up on social credit score system, which is going to hit you like that as an artist. So they're controlling for the
It's
longest
already been
time,
here. Yeah.
how you can approach it as an artist, and that puts a lot of pressure on the artist for being able to speak about the real topics that need to be spoke about in their music without feeling like they're going to lose the ability to have the global reach on these platforms. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and see, the thing is too is that with all of these global platforms, artists actually have the ability to get their thoughts and their music and their ideas and everything like that out in a way that they never had available to them before. Because before, for a Common or a Mos Def or Talib Kweli or Pac or Nas or anybody like that to get out there and spit some real shit, they had to have the approval of their label, and then their label had to agree that that's now going to be a single or that's going to be on the album now. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times with these labels and stuff, you'll submit 50 tracks and only like 10 or 12 will actually get put on the thing, right? And that is not able to guarantee that you'll be able to get that message out there that you want. You have to encode it like Kendrick did. You know what I'm saying? Kendrick has encoded a lot of his biggest hits are anti what most people think they're actually talking about. Like Drank, a lot of people think that's a party track. He's talking about not drinking. He's talking about the downfalls of fucking drinking all the time. ADHD. Everybody thinks that, that's glorifying drug use. No, he's talking about the downfall of drug use. The downfall of, crack babies become ADHD, blah, 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 all that fun stuff, right?
Right.
Talking about all that stuff. He had to encode it. J. Cole encodes a lot of his stuff, but then sometimes like he's been a little more flagrant here lately because he hopped on a certain bandwagon and they allow you to say certain things under that bandwagon, right? But he still can't say everything he wants to say. But as an independent artist, you can build your own channels on these platforms. Start getting your message out there, start getting your music out there, everything like that. And then, like I said, if you can get people to rock with you on your own spaces as well, if you happen to say fuck so and so or fuck this or fuck that, and that whatever platform doesn't like it and they kick you off or they ban you or whatever, you can still email people. You know what I'm saying? Until they completely completely memory hole you off the internet and cancel your email servers and everything like that. That's some pretty hardcore shit. Only a couple people I've ever heard of actually got that happen to them. And we can talk about them if you want to, but like that
easier than that
is a high level to get to. You got to be causing some major ruckus. Like, I don't know, everybody thinking that you are the reason a certain president got elected and all your crazy conspiracy theories are ruining the country. And then they want to kick you off all the platforms and take away your email server and take away your payment processors and look at taking away your server space for your website, all that shit. Like, you got to make some major waves. And some artists can do it and some artists can't, but you have the ability now with all these social media companies that you can at least start getting out there in a lot easier and more personally controllable way than you ever had to by asking permission. Oh, please, sir, can I say this on the record? No, fuck that shit.
So actually, it's ironic because what we're doing is we're really celebrating. Like when you brought up the Kendrick Lamar and all them, we're celebrating force genius.
Are you using AI generated things for these? I'm sorry to cut you off, man, but like these pictures are like awesome that you keep popping up here, man.
Appreciate it. So look, right? And yeah, I didn't draw these myself. So
yeah, that one looks AI generated. Some of the other ones look like they might be like stock photos or whatever, but that one is definitely creative.
So look, right? I like this one because it's talking, it's got the earphones. And to the outside public, it looks like the vibe is his own, right? So now, if we read this like a tarot card, the vibe appears to be his own, but his eyes is closed, right? To outside people, it looks like it's his vibe, but what's in his earphones? The earphones is telling him what he can and can't play. So even with the force, I'm gonna label it force genius of Kendrick and them. When you're saying, hey, they thought the song was about this, but he's really talking about that, it's because he has to, because he wants to get the funding. So it still has to be authenticated and meet the check boxes for him to get the grant to put it on that big of a platform and get that exposure. The genius part that's forced is that he was able to make the story so that it still gave the other side of the coin. Because the thing you learn when you study songwriting is the only way to break through is to give the audience enough of what they're used to so that they'll accept the additional factors and components that you want to add to it. So I think that's paramount. And then also when you're talking about the level that it would have to be for them to block you, it's so much easier than that now, bro. We did the video on Y97 where we talked about the little infrared camera on the iPhones, and they can encode they can program your brain through the infrared camera on the front facing iPhone, and probably the Androids too. That's why it flashed every 5 seconds. So now think about it. They only got to do, like, what was that little cartoon where it was all about the YouTube, and he was trying to get the movie where he's trying to get, he's trying to get famous on their version of the YouTube or whatever, and they were going anyway. So think about this,
movie?
Huh?
Is that a new movie you're talking about?
Like last, I don't know, 10 years or so. I don't really be in the. I just remember seeing it, the clips for it, and he was like, anyway, I'll figure it out. We'll put it in the chat later. But look, right. So now, if you're scrolling down Facebook and they're saying, "Hey, Harkos, he's a potential threat for the future," right? They gonna John Connor you, right? So then they come back and they just flip the little switch checkbox in the background, and now every time somebody scroll down your feed, see your music, they've got the flash that programs their thought to be like, "Oh, turn away," or put a negative thought every time they see your post. And then you're wondering why people don't interact and engage with you and your content online. It's so much easier now than to say we gotta really like do something on a major scale. It's a checkbox in the background.
Yeah, and they're using software in order to get that, by using, everybody keeps throwing around AI, but it's like the catchphrase. But they've been using a form of artificial intelligence software for years on these social media platforms, and that's why you may say something and then a year later it gets taken down for violating it, because they just finally got around to you because there's so many trillions of pieces of information that come out there. But yeah, I get what you're saying with that, because they can come at you very easy, and it doesn't have to be directed. It's 100% indirect. They just put the parameters in and then it manages itself. I get what you're saying with that. Absolutely.
So now that brings us to the era in the 20th century of commercialization of the music and control, with the rise of the recording industry, quote unquote, right? So the context of that is that the music industry's growth brought both opportunities and challenges, from my notes here, with corporate interests playing a significant role. The corporate interests,
right,
shaping artist expression.
Right.
So now the connection to the music is that it sometimes led to the prioritization of marketable content over independent artist expressions. And the labels were able to exert this with, basically, when it was just radio and BET and MTV, they had complete control over this. So now the breakaway happened, Napster, all of that good stuff, right? And this is them reeling it back in and regaining control to monitor and limit the expression. So what do you see about the dangers of that? Because you send it to Spotify, they kick it back saying, "Hey, we can't play it," or you're wondering why it's on Spotify not doing numbers, but it's because the prioritization factor is still there.
Yeah.
Also, the artists are now conforming their music to fit the mold, even though they're independent. So what's the point of being independent?
That's the big one right there as well too, and we saw that a lot. Where, for instance, I'm not trying to get political, but I'm speaking reality here. You saw how all hip hop was always talking about, "I'm on my Donald Trump shit. I'm trying to be big like Donald Trump." Mac Miller had a hit called Donald Trump, right? All that stuff. And then as soon as the system said, "No, you got to be anti-Trump," everybody had to say "fuck Trump" in their track in order to get some traction, whether they thought it or not. They had to say the subtraction, and it does kind of make you self-censor because you see what's popping, what's not, and you're like, oh, well, I got to follow this trend over here. Got to go along to get along, right? Which is one thing that I was told as a young one, and I could not fucking get my head through. Like, I was like, no, like, go along to get along. What the fuck does that fucking mean? You know, it means I got to do what everybody else is doing. I can't break my own wave. I can't think on my own. I can't express myself. No, fuck that shit. You know, like from a young kid, I just knew I was free, even though like my family was telling me, no, you got to go along to get along, man. You keep brushing up against all this stuff, you know, and I did to an extent, but like, you know, sometimes I would hit my limits. Like, oh, you just gotta go along to get along. That's how you win. I'm like, no, fuck, nobody's winning in my fucking family. What are you talking about? I got like 2 people that are winning in my whole family. Like, you ain't going along to get along. You see, getting left behind by going along. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck? And so, yeah, I mean, it does make you self-censor because you see what people are doing. You know, I mean, you know, how many people, like, if you listen to any podcast that talk about politics, how many times will you hear like people not say certain people's names, or they'll skirt around saying something specific? Like when see, I'm even gonna say it right now because I know how YouTube is. When the medicine prescription that was being mandated was coming around, right, a couple years ago, people started calling it one thing, and then they had to stop calling it that, which is it was a technical name for it, and they had to start calling it a slang term, right? Which I thought was gay as shit. The jab, oh god, that was so gay. But anyway, and not in a homosexual way, like in a dumbass way. And then they had to start calling it something else, and then they started calling it something else because, you know, the system that you were talking about came in there and started snipping it, and they knew, oh, if I say the V word or whatever, I'm gonna get shut down, right? And I'm even self-censoring so I don't get you shut down by saying that shit, because I know how the system works. It sucks. It makes you self-censor. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we're rebroadcasting on X right now, so we can say what the fuck we want, but we wanted to get out on Facebook and YouTube as well too. So I'm gonna be like, on the line, right? Everybody knows what I'm talking about. If you got any intelligence, you know exactly what I'm saying. Right. You know, but yeah, it does do that to us. And it does that to you as an artist, or if you got a politics channel, or if you're just trying to, you know, I mean, dude, I see it all the time in hip hop, right? With all these people who are trying to bring up their communities and get rid of all the negativity and bring in the positivity, and they're getting shut down because the system is like, no, we need to press more negativity, more hatred, more division, more murder and shit like that into the communities. And these people are getting cast aside because they're trying to do good because it prioritizes bad, which is the weaponization of the music, but also the weaponization of the culture as well too.
Now we see why the emergence, the fusion of the music and politics can't be separated.
Yeah, I get it.
Music is political, right?
Yeah,
and the fault is not in the artist, right? Because what we know is that the advocates of freedom are going to face these challenges. We know it's David and Goliath. You know what I mean? So why aren't the people standing up? Oh, because they're being censored as well. So if everybody's,
it's because they're held down. You can't stand up when you got fucking somebody standing on your head.
So if everybody is facing the same enemy, when do they decide to come together for the future?
Well, from what I've seen from society, it's only ever a small percentage of people that actually stand up to change the society as a whole.
We are Sparta.
Exactly. It's, you know, and like the 3%ers and stuff like that, right? Like, I was in the military. That's only like 1% of the population that goes in the military. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. That, you know, the revolution. I mean, you think about the American Revolution. You think about the civil rights movement, right? It wasn't 60% of the society. It wasn't even 51% of the society that was saying, it was a fraction of a percent. 300. You know? Yeah, exactly. Only 300. It was only 300 people in the civil rights movement. But no, it was a fraction of the community. But then they changed the whole community, you know, because I don't know if it's something in our, it's got to be something in our genetics from like our primal primitive days when we were literally had to be in packs in order to survive. And there were some people who were genetically dispositioned to be the leader because they could think like me and you do, right? Think abstractly and think creatively and think outside the box. And then there was the 90% of the people in the thing that just went along, and they had to be a cohesive unit in order to survive as a species, right? And so I think that still lies in our DNA, because you'll see that with mob mentality, whether in person or online. You'll see that where you know, I mean, fuck, we saw that over the last couple of years. You know what I'm saying? People are all like, oh, well, you got to do it, because if not, my business is going to get shut down. Or if you don't do it, I can't go to work. Or no, you got to get that done so I can go back to normal. It's like, no, why don't you come with me,
right,
and be free, not bend over backwards to whatever the fuck somebody who's not doing that is telling you to do. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I saw him on TV get that. Oh, yeah, that was fucking sailing. Get the fuck out of here, man. Don't, like, call me a crazy conspiracy theorist all you want to, but there's no way when you see video after video after video of people having fucking spaz attacks after they get injected with that shit, and then you see a fucking 80-year-old crypt keeper up on fucking stage get the same thing, and they're like, oh, yeah, it was awesome. Get the fuck out of here. You know damn well you didn't give them nothing experimental, because they would have freaked the fuck out. That is an issue with democracy. And me and you were kind of talking about that in the interview, or whatever you want to call it. And I was thinking about it, and I mean, like, that is possibly one reason why this country was created as a constitutional republic and not a democracy. You know, a lot of people like to say that, oh, so-and-so is going to ruin our democracy, or, oh, our democracy says we don't have a democracy. You know what I'm saying? We don't have a direct democracy in any shape or way. They have one because they're running their bureaucracy that they're trying to push as a democracy that is just really authoritarianism, right? But the way things were actually structured, which is where, you know, the state and the individual had more power than the collective, right? And it was all about, you know, being led by individualism as opposed to collectivism, but you would come together for the greater good in defense against other people trying to do you harm and stuff. But yeah, I mean, that is a problem with democracy, because it's mob rule. You know, whatever the mob says is what reality is, man. And that's no way, like, even though it can be used for good things, right? You know, like the Million Man March, that was a mob trying to make a rule, right?
Was that a good thing?
To an extent.
See, everything's based on perspective, right?
Right.
I don't think the Million Man March or any march is a good thing.
Why is that?
Because it's training people to march whenever they have an issue instead of take action.
Oh, I see what you're saying there.
See, you're going, it's like you're going to your parents asking, can you go outside? Right,
exactly.
Right,
exactly. Just like you know, I keep going back to this is recent history, but just like whenever there were the anti-lockdown protests, no, those get shut down. But you can protest against other things if you want to, which has validity as well too. But they were picking and choosing which one did Big Daddy Uncle Sam say you could do.
Now here's where the parallels come into play. What you were saying earlier.
I'm gonna get off screen. I'm gonna still hear you. All right, 1 second. Go ahead.
Go ahead. We'll take a break real quick.
All right.
Yeah, we'll take a quick 15-30 seconds.
Okay.
All right. So I like what you're saying here, right? But when we go to the democracy factor and we bring in the fact that America's really a republic,
Mhm.
okay? A democracy is allowed to operate in a republic. See, what you got to look at it is that what people think is their government is like working at Walmart. The employees are the U.S. citizens. The management at Walmart would be the United States government. Now, me and you, the Americans, we're customers. We come in the store. The employee code of conduct for Walmart don't apply to us when we come into their store,
Right.
but the employees have to adhere to it. Okay. So this is why a democracy is allowed to be in existence in a republic by nature. The question is, are we fighting about, well, you call me an employee of Walmart when I'm here, I'm gonna be an employee, right? No, we're not. We're
Right.
just, I want this, I want that. We're the people, that's why they give us bills and we out, right?
Right.
All right, so that's the gist of it. So this is where the music thing comes into play, because if America start to push their own shit, right? We can't boycott anything. This is what we've learned repeatedly over time. We can't boycott anything unless we build the system to replace it.
Yeah.
This is why the labels are just sitting back chilling. They like, if this goes well, we win. If
If it goes
Spotify
bad,
fails, we win.
you win. Yeah.
And the artists and the people are screwed under our thumb regardless. Until we realize what the weapon formed against us is. Because once we realize it's a weapon, only then it shall not prosper. But if we don't know it's a weapon, that's been my theme like last week. It's like, if you don't know you
makes
got a
sense.
sword and you go to brush your teeth with it, you go.
If you brush your teeth with a sword. Yeah. Dude, I'm just picturing that in my fucking head. Somebody with a sword. Yeah, but no, I get what you're saying. That's a good way to put it. And I like how you distinguish between American and US citizen. I think that's an interesting distinction right there, because that can be applied in so many different situations where it's very, very applicable, because like you said, there's the employees at Walmart, and then there's the customers. Yeah, sometimes the employees are customers as well too, but even when they're a customer, they still got to be like, oh, I actually work here still too, and it's just like, yeah, like you said, there's a completely different code of conduct. I mean, like, we've all seen the memes and the videos of, the people of Walmart and stuff like that, where people were walking around in weird shit, dressed all weird and stuff. But the employees can't do that. They got to wear the blue shirt with the brown pants. And
Right. No
yeah,
casual Fridays there.
yeah, no casual Fridays at all, but like I think that is a big distinction between an American and a U.S. citizen.
Now you can go back to the music and the political aspects,
Mhm.
because to me, from my perspective, the United States citizen is the commercialized product. It's the asset. It's the monetized version or product. So
Mhm.
this is why now everything's about some form of prostitution, right? Dating is prostitution. You know what I mean? Like, don't chicks don't and dudes don't think you're engaging in U.S. citizen prostitution. You're
Yeah.
calling it dating, right? So now you see why the music parallels everything it does, because it's not only that the owners of the labels are owners of or invested in the prison system. It's that the United States citizen needs to be maintained programming.
Mhm.
So this is why all the music. So this is why Kendrick has to write it so that it looks this way, and then subliminally we're all excited because, oh, did you hear I hit this with the parallels and the catandras? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So-
exactly. I mean, Jeezy did the same shit too. Like I love Jeezy. He's one of my favorite artists. Like, I don't have like a top 10 or nothing like that, but he's in one of my favorites because of the message in his music, and I like how he was able to translate it to an audience that obviously that he grew up and resonated with, but like he was able to translate it so much, and like it motivates the fuck out of me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I sung a couple of things back in my day, but I wasn't a trap star. I didn't grow up in the hood, nothing like that. But his overall message within the music motivates the fuck out of me a lot, man. And but yeah, it is one of those things where it's like, you know, 80% of the people hear one thing and the other 20% don't. They hear something totally different. They hear what me and you hear. And it's like the artists who are smart enough to encode it, they know, hey, most of the people aren't going to get it, but the real people are. And I think maybe even some of them know that, you know, that there's a message in my music and I had to encode it. I think that's a Jeezy lyric now I think about it off the top of my head, right? Like
in reality,
they
don't
have to
everybody
do
hear
that.
what they want to hear? Period.
There is that as well too. But I mean, critical thinkers like you and I, we try to analyze and break things apart, you know. So I sit there and say, what am I hearing? Am I hearing this? Well, fuck, dude, here recently, I used to listen to Pac a lot whenever I was in like high school and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I was born in '86, so in '96, whenever he went, I just started getting into hip hop, started listening to Bone Thugs and Wu-Tang, stuff like that. I didn't really start hearing Pac until about late middle school, somewhere in there. But I really didn't get like actually really introduced to him like with CDs and shit like that.
Was Pac really that good?
So that's the thing too, is that I took a while off from listening to stuff, and I started listening to it again here recently, and some of his stuff was great and some of his stuff was not that great, but it was one of those things where I went back and listened and I was like, man, I used to really love this song and I thought it was one thing, but it's something totally different. You know, now that I've experienced life differently, and maybe it's because my brain's evolved as well too, and I hear things differently and I see things differently, because I'm nowhere near the same person I was whenever I was 16, 18, 25. You know, as a 37-year-old, I'm nowhere near any of that shit. Fuck, I'm not even like I was 35. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, you know, that is a good question. Was Pac good? And I think that he had good intentions, and some of his realest shit went unnoticed, and some of his crazy, outlandish, bombastic shit was what got him all of the attention. You know, and it was that personality that I think he used to mask how he was actually thinking and feeling.
I think it's one of those questions you got to ask. No discounting his content.
No.
But just saying, if Pac was in today's market where there's 50 million artists, because the reach and the access is now down here to everybody, would he be the Tupac that we know today with the same songs if this technology was available back then and everybody was the way it was now? And
I think so,
that's me,
because
ask a lot of artists.
Yeah, I think so, because I think there are a certain percentage of humans that will rise to the top no matter the situation. And I listen to a lot of different podcasts, and I listened to one podcast called PBD, Patrick Bet-David podcast, and he actually said this. They were talking about like some other like great people of history and stuff like that. And you know, I can't remember who he was talking to. He was talking to some civil rights dude. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He's like 90 years old though. But he was one of those people, like one of the first people in desegregated schools, where he was like the only one in like the own little section of the classroom by himself and everything like that.
Right.
And they were the ones getting the straight A's, and all the white students were getting dog shit and everything like that. He was one of them. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but like PBD was talking about that too, and he was like, he brought up a good point, and I resonated with it. I think that's true, that no matter the circumstances, there's always people that will rise above and get to a certain level, and some people get to that level and they could be placed in any time period, in any situation, and they would still get to that level. And I think Pac could have been one of them. I mean, obviously nobody knows for sure, but I think he could have been one of them. Jay-Z probably not. Nas probably, yeah. But Pac, I think he probably could have. I mean, Nas still proves it right now to this day. I mean, he has the ability to because he wasn't extinguished early. You know what I'm saying? But Biggie, I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? Because like, what not only did Pac and Biggie and all of them kind of create the environment that is now today, you know, they created it almost 20 years ago with, you know, gangster rap and trapping and all that shit. They kind of created that then. But, you know, you go back and listen, and they weren't really standing out in their time period. You know what I'm saying? Biggie kind of was, but he wasn't. Pac was like leaps above. You know what I'm saying? But still, even back then, in the late 90s, early 2000s, you know, people like Pac and Nas got ahead, but Pharoah Monch didn't really go that great. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a fucking hell of a lyrical artist. One of my favorites.
You're indirectly proving my point.
Okay.
Because what happens is
that's good too.
Back then, right? And granted, this is not to say, or let me say this: you are right in your observation, because the truth is infinite. Okay.
Right.
Here's what I'm going to add to it. 85% of why they were who they were was because of the financial backings and access they got from being able to be granted through the gatekeepers.
Yeah, right? And Pac had the
why you think
Digital Underground.
Why you think when people talk hip hop, they ask you who your top 5 is? Because historically, the average person only knew 15 rappers ever existed. Period.
Right.
That's all they were allowed to know existed.
Yeah, it's because there's only 15 people that were ever played during an hour of radio.
So now you see where I'm getting at is, would these people from the past really be anything in today's environment? So that's showing you the power of the access and the gatekeepers pushing the narrative.
No, I see what you're saying. And I mean, if you use that logic right there, then yes, they would have, because they still would have gotten the connections to make them who they became then, but they would do it in nowadays with modern technology. Because Pac, for instance, right? Like, you know, Arts Kid and everything like that, he ended up meeting up with Digital Underground, doing some shit with them, and then just kind of up through the ladder like that, right? Because he made those networking connections. And those same networking connections exist today. Obviously not Digital Underground, but those same types exist today, actually in more of an abundance. So yeah, I think possibly.
Possibly, right? I just think if Pac woke up and it started, and this is not just to point out Pac, but generally speaking, like the artists back in the day, if they woke up today's world and they were saying, okay, we're going to start from scratch with everybody else here, they would be on Spotify. They would be trying to go, you know, most of them would. Now, the gatekeeper system is different than it was back then, today, right?
Kind of.
Pac's music wouldn't fly to it. Pac's music would be more likely to be censored today than it would be to be allowed to be what it was. It was too emotionally, right? That's why the people had it. He was one of the few artists back then that had a good emotional storytelling ability while being one of the 15 allowed. He was like your equivalent of your Kendrick back then, right?
Yeah. So, no, I get what you're saying. I mean, he had to come up with changes in Dear Mama and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's like DMX.
Right. Well, yeah. But like, for instance, like with me, like one of my top favorite songs from Pac is son of a bitch, I just had it in my head.
It'll come back.
Yeah, it'll come back. I might interrupt you when it comes back, but it'll come back. But yeah, like, you know, like Hail Mary's a good one. You know what I'm saying? But like Changes and all them, you know, like they were just kind of overplayed because those are the acceptable ones that you could talk about and everything like that. But oh man, now this is gonna kill me.
See, so look at it. While you're going through that real quick, this might help jog it. The economic pressures today on artists, right? So the economic pressures are what actually force artists to conform to market expectations. So artists advocating for freedom, they face the challenges, bro, getting their messages heard, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because I mean, yeah, but wasn't the message gatekeep back then too? Because I mean, he couldn't be 100% Black Panther like he was raised. He had to put on, you know, California Love and shit like that. What was that?
What we say about the songwriting? You give them enough of what they need so that you can give them what you want.
Lord Knows.
Okay.
His track Lord Knows, man, that is a dark, deep fucking track, man. Like that one right there is like it's way deeper than even Hail Mary, and that's a deep track. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know, you ever heard it? Is it ringing in your bells?
If we played it real quick, it probably makes sense to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I heard it because I'm one of those people that listened to like everything back then. And so I had Pac, I had everybody, pretty much I had a book bag full of music and no books.
Yeah.
But with the CD player. But then I
Right.
purposely parted from listening to other artists, like especially mainstream and radio. So I
Right.
could develop my own little sound.
Well, I mean, like here, I got the lyrics up right here. I mean, because I don't know.
Drop the lyrics on us, then.
I
Let's
don't
hear it.
know. I don't know if YouTube will let you fucking do this, but like, his verse starts out. I smoke a blunt to take the pain out, and if I wasn't high, I'd probably try to blow my brains out. I'm hopeless. They should have killed me as a baby. Now they got me trapped in the storm. I'm going crazy. Forgive me. They want to see me in a casket, and if I don't blast, I'll be a victim of them bastards. Losing hope, they got me stressing. Well, can the Lord forgive me? Got the spirit of a thug in me. Another sip of that drink. This Hennessy got me queasy. Don't want to Earl Young. Take it easy. You know what I'm saying? And picture your dreams on a triple beam. And it seems, don't underestimate the power of a fiend. To my homies on the block, slinging rocks with your Glocks. Put this tape in your box when you're running from the cops. And never look back. If they could be black, then they would switch, open fire on the bust ass bitches, and Lord knows, you know what I'm saying? Like that right in there, he's like talking about some dark, deep shit, and like second verse, I wonder if the Lord will forgive me and bury me a G. I couldn't let my adversaries worry me, and every single day is a test where my bulletproof vest, and still stressing over death. If I could choose whether a person die, I can only say some of the words, you know how it is. And so figured I'd take a puff of the blunt and let my trigger fly. When every day is another death, with every breath is a constant threat, so watch your step. You could be next if you want to. Who do we run to? Murdering people, look what it's come to. My memories bring me misery, and life is hard in the ghetto, it's insanity. I can't breathe, got me thinking what do hell got? Because I haven't suffered so much, I'm feeling shell-shocked. And drive-bys is an everyday thing. I done lost too many homies to this motherfucking game, and Lord knows. Like,
yeah,
he's saying,
who's
like,
he battling?
Yeah, he's
What's
battling. Yeah, he's battling the perpetual fight that a lot of people will go through. You know what I'm saying? And people that are trapped in a fucking hell of a struggle. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people in this country that are trapped in a.
Who are they fighting?
They're fighting themselves most of the time.
Oh, see, this is why.
That's what I think he's talking about.
Okay.
He's talking about like I think I only have one path, but I want a different path.
This is why one of the things I'm most proud of that happened to me recently was Google switched me from being a hip hop artist to a new age artist as my genre. I don't do titles myself.
They switched you on their own. That's weird. Why they do that?
I guess I don't know.
Okay.
Right. I don't control that shit, right? But when I looked at it, I was like, yo, this is a perfect sign for me.
Right.
Because when you look at hip hop and rap, that's why I was asking who they fighting. Right? See, hip hop does that.
Mm-hmm.
It perpetuates the battle of confusion and the war against ourselves, right? New age is actually compared to a zeitgeist movement. So now you see why that's perfect fit for me. Like, this is the American battle to reinstate itself against the United States invasion.
Mm-hmm.
We not confused over here. We trying to organize. So I really appreciate that Google separated me from hip hop and rap and put me in new age because it fits me.
Because you are new.
Zeitgeist.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, to finish up this song, one thing I like about it is that the third verse ends with as basically like an Ouroboros, because the third verse here. Let me hit it real quick for you, man. it kind of goes like a little bit more with his anger, where he's talking about stuff. Fuck the 5-0 because they after me, kill me if they could. I never let them capture me. Then lost too many homies to this gang banging. Homie died in my arms with his brains hanging. Fucked up, I had to tell him it was all right. And that's a lie, and he knew it when he shook and died. My God, even though I know I'm wrong, man. Hennessy make a dude think he's strong, man. I can't sleep, so I stay up. Don't want to fuck them bitches. Trying to calm me down, I ain't giving up. Right? I'm getting lost in this weed, man. Getting high, living every day like I'm gonna die. I smoke a blunt to take the pain out. If I wasn't high, probably try to blow my brains out.
So now when
you know what I'm saying?
What was that last line? What was that last line? Hold on, put that last line back and I'll cut you off.
And Lord knows. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how he started the track. He said, it's called Lord Knows. And he's like, and he started it out. I smoke a blunt to take the pain out. And if I wasn't high, probably trying to blow my brains out. And then he tells the story. And then he ends it up. Now, this is why I smoke a blunt to take the pain out. So I don't
look at what you asked yourself earlier. Look at what you asked. Well, look at the question that you posed earlier. I'll repose it.
Okay.
Wouldn't Tupac have to fit the mold for the gatekeepers? So look at the lyrics.
Yeah, because that is one of his least popular tracks.
So if his least popular track
is that deep
and fits the mold of the gatekeepers, the same way the Kendrick's track fit the mold of the gatekeepers, but he still was able to do his thing.
You think that fits the mold of the gatekeepers?
Hell
because I think like Changes in Hail Mary and stuff like that, the ones that actually popped fit the mold better. That's why they let it go. This one kind of went under the radar.
Yeah, it fits the mold. That's why the labels put it through. Even stuff like Brenda's Got a Baby.
Right.
Look, even stuff like Brenda's Got a Baby.
Mm-hmm.
What's that talking about? Follow this home. But so well eloquently done that it's so emotionally attached that you just feel like, oh, I can so relate to it. Duh. Right. Mm-hmm. And now you're programmed to embrace. See, when you look at trauma, one of the coping mechanisms of trauma is to repeat the experience.
True. Yeah, that is true.
Even though
we go to what they're comfortable with, even though it was uncomfortable, that's all they know. Right. Yeah.
So even that itself is a Kendrick Lamar pull. It's so well done. It just so whether he purposely planned it that way or he just went in and wrote some shit about the chick he knew around the corner and it just happened to pop because he's pop, right? I'm not saying he's not talented.
No,
he's very talented, right? But what I'm saying is, even in that form, what you think is positive is fitting the negative agenda. And this is why we, as the consumers, have to wake up to what's being done to us to see so that we can now invest in the artists that are doing the right thing. Because the algorithm is only programmed by what the people allow.
Right.
If the algorithm put bullshit in front of you that you didn't want and you go, no, and you start going to Music Making Sense podcast and listening to that every time it come on, then eventually the algorithm is going to say, well, we need to start sending people to Music Making Sense podcast so we can get the advertiser dollars when we start putting the advertisers on this stuff, right?
Yeah, that's true.
We need to understand that as the people and stop feeling like they got control over us. They got control over our minds and we don't see it.
Yeah,
like the new age factor.
Yeah, that's true. That's why they're like, you know what? We recognize as Google as being the Uber mentioned, the overlords. We know that this individual right here, Pasha Pero, is not hip hop. He's new age.
We can put him on new age and shut him the fuck down because he great trying to zeitgeist the world.
He's gonna rise to the top of hip hop. We want him to rise to the top of new age. Nobody listen to that shit.
Right? Nobody listen to that shit over there. You know what I mean? Like, fuck that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's 10. They only got 10,000 listeners worldwide. You know what I'm saying?
10,000 worldwide out of 8 billion people. That's fucking awesome.
But you know who those 10,000 listeners are gonna be? They're gonna be the Saddam Husseins. They're going to be the Putins. They're going to be the leaders of North Korea. They're going to be the ones that say, bring America back. And this what's going to happen. It's going to be a crossroads where the United States citizens are going to have to decide, do they want to be United States citizens or do they want to be Americans? Because what's going to happen is, even for the people that think like you share the same thought process I do, you don't maybe articulate it the way I do.
Right. Yeah.
But once the government... Once the United States citizens say, once the Big Daddy say to them little kids' minds, right, that Mark Harkos is the enemy, you got 400 million zombies, like you saw over a couple years, the neighbors calling the cops on the people 500 yards away across the street cutting their own grass, nowhere near them because they didn't have a mask on.
Shit,
because
yeah.
the government 10,000
No,
miles away told them to.
yeah, I had that happen when all that shit was going on. People fucking yelling at me, going crazy and everything like that.
So what happens when they say you can't think for yourself?
You asking me what happens whenever they tell me personally when that happens?
What
Because
happens? What happens when they tell the population that?
Yeah. So when they tell the population, they already told the population that they can't think for themselves. They told the
I'm talking about
population,
you, not
yeah,
them. You're the target now. They say
yeah.
you can't think for yourself.
Let's say, go fuck yourself. I'll do whatever I want.
Okay. So now
You
you
know what I'm
got
saying?
400 million
I'm
zombies.
fooling Elon Musk. Go fuck yourself.
Kanye, we're gonna Kanye him.
Yeah, they're gonna try to Kanye me. Absolutely.
So now what happens is we know that's coming. Social media credit score, FedNow. The industry, music industry, record labels control over the social media platforms, over what we thought were the freedom of Spotify and all the other, music platforms for quote unquote independent artists. What are we waiting for? Answer me that from the hip hop state of mind. If we celebrated 50 years of the same enslavement, when do we put some money behind Harriet Tubman of the music industry?
Yeah. That goes back to what I was saying. Only a couple percent are going to actually lead that. Harriet Tubman wasn't in the majority. She was a small minority. You know what I'm saying? And she was working with all the people that the majority was saying she shouldn't work with. You know what I'm saying? There
Who would you compare her to as an artist?
Me. I mean, I'm not trying to stroke my own ego and shit like that, but I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing. Like, yeah, I'm an artist and everything like that, but what I'm doing with the Music Making Sense podcast, with my coaching, consulting, my marketing help, everything like that I do with artists, I'm trying to lay the tracks down, per se. Let's use some analogy, right? I'm trying to help lay the tracks down for these artists to make their own way. You know what I'm saying? Make their own way.
When should an artist call you
for freedom? What was
that? When in an artist's career should they call you for help?
Preferably at the beginning, but at any time we can correct course. You know what I'm saying? Because as you know, you want to use an analogy, man, like your life, you're going down a track, but that track is being built in front of you. And so it's going whichever way you build it. You know what I'm saying? So if you're just getting started, you're like, all right, I wanna build a train track, right? AKA I wanna start making music. Well, you try doing it yourself, you might be going like all over the fucking place, right? You may look like somebody who just started driving, right? Because that's how it is. You kind of like all over the road, stopping really hard and everything like that, right? But you have somebody who's a solid driver who's like, hey, watch this. Go ahead, go like this. All right, now go like this. Now go like this. Now you get it. All right, keep going. You know what I'm saying? Like whenever I don't know if you got kids, but like when you teach your kid how to ride a bike, right? They're gonna fall down a little bit and stuff like that, but you're like right there trying to help them out and shit like that. You tell them, hey, don't do this. When you feel this happen, go do this, right? And so that's what I try to do whenever I'm trying to help these people is like, I prefer to help people out when they're getting started because they don't have the years, like somebody who's been doing it for 10 years, for instance, or 15 or something like that, or anywhere over like 5 to 7 years. If they've been doing it more than 5 to 7 years, they end up not wanting to listen to me because I don't have as much or more years of experience than they do, because I don't have certain credentials that they look up to, shit like that, right? But then if they listen to me long enough,
that's their fault.
Exactly. But if they listen to me long enough, which a few of them have, then they end up coming around. At first, they start reiterating what I've said as if it was their own idea. And then they start saying, you were right. And then they start saying, what should I do next? Right? I've had a couple of artists do that who at first were like, pfft, and then they're like, hold on. And they're like, wait. And then they take that progression, right?
Mhm.
Like those type of people, I can help out absolutely if they're willing to listen and change drastically and sometimes, right? But like I like helping the people just getting started out. Honestly, it's a little easier. You know what I'm saying? But you have to deal a lot less with the, oh, I've already tried that before. Oh, that doesn't work because I haven't seen it work. Blah blah. You know what I'm saying? All these objections that are that are front of mind thinking instead of back of mind thinking when it comes to them taking the advice or suggestions that I'm giving and them trying to implement it. They fight the resistance because it's not the comfortable thing that they think they're supposed to do. They haven't spent years trying to figure it out on their own and think that they're going in the right direction. And you come and tell them, hey, you're on the wrong side of the road, dude. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, no, I've been doing all right, man. I did this on my own. You're like, well, you're going to get hit by a fucking car. You know? You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So, I mean, honestly, at any time, you know, just like Harriet Tubman, right? There were some people who just became slaves that found her and helped get their freedom. And there's some people who were third generation, fifth generation, whatever generation, multi-generation slaves who finally found her. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, obviously she did a lot greater for humanity than I did because she was lifting people from actual slavery. You know what I'm saying? But if you want to use
you're doing the same thing because you're saving them from slavery with the labels. You're saving them from slavery with the mindsets of having to conform their music. You're saving them from the slavery of being in the wrong circle of fans that ruins their creativity because they feel like they have to write this way. And instead you're saying, no, you were see, like when you say, hey, I haven't seen that, they told you they haven't seen that work before, right? See, here's why we were in the background, we were withdrawn because they're telling you they talking shit. Motherfucker, you don't know what you're doing. I ain't seen that, never worked before. That's because
why don't you do that?
Same 500 people. You've been going to the same 500 people, you know, around your 4 square blocks, sharing your music with the same 500 minds, and you listen to them. When there's 400 plus million people in the country that think differently, and then if you go globally, there's billions. So you keep giving it to the same people instead of finding the people who appreciate it and put your money into a marketing campaign to locate them, right, instead of running into the same brick wall.
Right. Well, I guess I see what you're saying, and I appreciate the way that you formatted that in relationship with me. I guess my own ego issues prevent me from trying to say I'm equal to somebody like Harriet Tubman or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because like to some people that's gonna be like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? So like my own mental
omnipresence.
Okay, there you go. From my own mental state, you know. But like I get what you're saying, you know, and that kind of goes like how Rick Rubin is not an artist, but some of the greatest, highest up artists like Jay-Z and fucking, you know, Red Hot Chili Peppers and all these great bands have sought his advice. This motherfucker who doesn't write, who doesn't sing, doesn't rap, doesn't make any music. He just has a mind. He thinks differently, and he sees things from a totally different perspective than what all these artists do. And you know, I'm not like him because I am an artist. I am creative. I can write my ass off. You know what I'm saying? Because I grew up with my writing shit trying to mirror Pac. You know what I'm saying? So I can do, like, people will always say, oh, I can see Pac in you and stuff like that, right? But like, and I can see it in myself too. But you know, I look at things totally different because, you know, like I was saying, a lot of people, you know, they'll give me all these objections. Oh, well, I ain't seen it done. And one of the big ones too is that I hear is, oh, well, if your ideas are so dope, why don't you put them into implementation for your own music? I'm like, well, for one, I'm not a selfish piece of shit, and for two, I actually get more satisfaction and enjoyment from helping other people succeed than I do from just helping myself. And on the flip side, I know that by helping other people, I will not only get like emotional fulfillment, but I will also get financial and lifestyle fulfillment out of it as well too. Because when you deliver value for other people, you actually get rewarded more than if you're trying to just, you know, create the value only within yourself, you know. And so that's why, you know, yeah, I've tested some of these theories on myself with my own music and stuff like that. But in reality, I initially was learning how to do all this stuff to help myself, and then I had the epiphany. I was like, why would I do that? How many lives can I actually change with my music? Me putting message in the music. Like, if you want to play some of my shit, go for it. But like with me putting messages in my music, how many lives is that actually going to change? Okay, I might be able to reach some thousands, 100,000s, millions, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Multi-millions. Cool. But how many of those people are actually going to go and change their lives? However, if I can actually work one-on-one and help somebody change their life, even if it's just a small shit or great big shit, that is going to help them, the immediate people around them, and then anybody else that they try to pass that knowledge on to, or anybody that they refer back to me. And then it keeps quadrupling like that. You know what I'm saying?
You know, I know exactly what you're saying. That's actually my own personal strategy. When people be like, hey, you're only one person, how can you change the world? And I'd be like, well, what I'm gonna do, if you try to go around to 5,000 people, it's gonna take a lot of energy, a lot of effort, some cost, some overhead with that shit, time. But if you find the leader of those 5,000 people and just work with them and mold them, which is the same reason why I have people like you and I have these conversations like to build with, because I see you as a leader of many, right?
Right.
So now we work, we build, we show iron sharpen iron. I don't need to go meet your audience necessarily one by one. I don't need to say, hey, let me stand in front of you and try to take your audience, those type of people. Like, no, let me get on here, let me do that. Because why? They're already rocking with you. They already appreciate your swag. They already appreciate your lingo. So let me just work with you, get to maybe polish off the mentality that you already have. Like when you said, because see, a lot of what I do is emotional. When you want to, even though I'm not emotional, I understand the psychology. And because I'm looking to reduce the codependency of large government and big corporations, yeah, we got to talk business, we got to do that. But I also got to be able to look at you and say, okay, I have the emotional intelligence factor for you. I have the mental health awareness factor for you. Like when your chin was down, saying you weren't comparable to Harriet Tubman, I had to remind you that you are Harriet Tubman. Why? Because it's omnipresence. We all are all. We are, I am whatever you say I am, right? So if you're gonna say you not her, then you not her. But you doing her work. And now what that's gonna do is create the reality where you're not doing that work because you've attracted that from your thought process.
Right.
And now, this is why it's so dangerous. And also, actually, I'm gonna say dangerous, but this is why it's easier to go and develop your own style and sound instead of pioneering yourself after another artist, right? Because if you got 10,000 people trying to sound like Pac, well, what does Hardcore sound like? Because then when that new flavor comes out that ain't nobody heard before, it's like, yeah, you might gotta wait some time. We know it's either gonna take some time or it's gonna take some money or currency, right? To put you on, 10,000 plays a day and like the big boys. So one or the other, either and somewhere in between. But once that reaches the critical mass of listeners, it's something new. It's different. It's what is this? It's not that, oh yeah, I like this because they sound like. You see what I'm saying? And now you're being compared, and now you have to go through that saturation of that market and that niche that's still saturated. So that's the element there. And I like the other thing that you said, because that's part of why I wound up as an artist. When you were saying, I wanted to play the background in the beginning. But I'm the one telling the artist to do the shit like, yo, go be American. They're like, no, I want to be a United States citizen. I'm here to be an American. I'm like, no, trust me, you need to do it. Do it like this. They're like, no.
All right, then fucking follow me then if you don't want to listen to me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's why I got to this position. And then I do the same thing that you were talking about, where I dance back and forth in my mind of trying to invite other people to come take the shine, because now I can, not that I got a big spotlight, but now I got stuff I've learned. I can invest in you intangibles. Let me put you on front. But they scared, or they committed to this old, dying, decaying, decrepit ideology and thought process that's landing everybody in jail and financial ruins, in the country with no money, and the currency's inflated and we can't buy bread. Why? Because we're still thinking the same way we did 50 years ago, but there's been 50 years of change.
Yep.
So then on top of that, right, I gotta do it myself. But then what I say is, I had this video and I was like, is my value to the few worth more than my value to the many? And that's where I was laughing earlier about when you were comparing where you talking about Rick Rubin, because the way you described him, I was thinking DJ Khaled. Like he don't write, he don't do this, he don't do that. I was like, yeah, DJ Khaled don't write his own shit. He coded Heart Goes By a beat, go in there and get
All
Tommy.
DJ Khaled does is just say, "We the best,
we the best."
Yeah, all that shit.
He don't make the beat. He buy the beat, have someone else add something to it, do this, do that.
One thing I thought was one thing I thought was funny in DJ Khaled history, right, is when T-Pain had that song called Karaoke. You remember that track?
No.
So
I mean, probably if I heard it, but no.
All right. So T-Pain had a song called Karaoke. I think it was on 3 Rings, right? The CD 3 Rings. And it was like one of the last tracks on there. And he's just like talking a bunch of shit, saying that basically everyone's starting to sound like him. All y'all are just a bunch of karaoke or whatever, right? Well, DJ Khaled comes in like in the middle of the track. He's like, yeah, man. You tell him all them fucking shit. You know what, T-Pain? Let me go. No, fuck it, man. Like, no, we the best. Make sure you check it out. And so, like, he plays it up like he's about ready to spit some bars. And he's like, no, fuck it. It's like, no, because you can't, motherfucker. Get the fuck out of the track. T-Pain was killing it. You just fucked it up. That's why I was screaming in my car while I was listening to this shit for the first time. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, DJ? Man, get the fuck out of here.
You getting his points?
Yeah, exactly. You got to check out that track. It's hilarious. It's like you're sitting there, T-Pain just like just going crazy. Like he's like rapping his ass off. Like,
yeah.
And all of a sudden, DJ Khaled. And then he's like has to like he just drops like this long list of like DJ Khaled, the Dundada, blah blah, like all kinds of other shit. I can't remember all of it or whatever. But like he's like Nappy Boy, and like he's like calling out all this, you know, what's that show? Doing all these shout outs and shit like that, right? And I'm just like it's just funny because he's like, let me get him. Nah, fuck it.
Back to you.
Yeah, back to you. It's like, yeah, because you don't know what the fuck to do. Like he's just a promoter. That's all he is. And so that's
DJ.
Cool. Yeah, he's a DJ.
But isn't that what a DJ does in the party?
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, that's what he does, and he's good at it. Cool. More power to him, right? But like you were saying, you know, he's not out there trying to fucking out lyrics Nas and Pharoah Monch. No. You know what I'm saying? No, he can't.
You know what saved Nas?
He can't even out lyric Plies. Come on now.
You know what saved Nas? Nas own part of Jay-Z.
He owns part of Jay-Z? Explain that. I never heard that one.
Yeah, something about he owns like some of Jay-Z. He's got some investment into Jay-Z.
Like when he was super early and he just held it.
Yeah, which is ironically why I think Jay-Z brought him into the position that he's in now.
Huh.
I'm no expert. I wasn't there, but that's the hearsay. I don't really gossip.
Even after that, all that ether shit and everything like that they had back in the day.
But don't it make sense? It's like Michael Jackson's having the Beatles.
Possible. I know it's like a Kansas City Shuffle type of situation because they were beefing like hard back in the day. You know what I'm saying? I keep saying that ether situation. You remember the track Ether, right? And then you know, but they had like, you know, dead presidents and all that shit, right? Like when they were beefing back and forth, a lot of people think that they're enemies. So it would be a great turn of events that they were secretly not. Even if it was real back then, that they've squashed it and now they're sitting there working with each other, because that would make sense, because Nas has like hit a peak in his career after all this time, which is almost unheard of for artists, especially who've been in the game this long.
Well, it's like you said earlier, when you said Nas, when we were talking about who would make it, and you were like, Nas probably would make it. You know, okay. Jay-Z, we're talking about the guy who cut deals with corporations to meet quotas. I'm not saying that's not smart. I'm saying that's smart as fuck, right?
Yeah.
But you maintained your supremacy kind of like not naturally, right?
No, it wasn't by the people. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't because he sold the most. It wasn't because he had the greatest shows. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't because he sold out all the shows or nothing like that. He sold the most records and he was the most popular. Like he had a great string of popularity. But like you said, like he's had to be like he says, I'm not a businessman. I'm a business man. Yeah, exactly.
And nobody liked him when he first came out either, right?
No, yeah, and like Pocky was like Hawaiian. No, sorry, that was
He was
Nas.
like,
Pac was talking shit about him and everything like that. Yeah, nobody liked him when he first came.
so now I kind of led us down that path to encourage the activists, the ones that's going to go against the grain, the ones that's going to feel like they're not getting the support they deserve because their lyrical content or their message. Because if we could support a Jay-Z to rise to the position that he's in directly and, and indirectly,
right,
then we can support you too as well.
Right. Exactly. I mean, like I'm one of those people that don't think like Jay-Z's ability to write the shit inside of his head and spit it out. Okay, fine, but I don't think.
Do we know that to even be true?
Exactly.
Or is that a marketing scheme?
There's that, which is a great marketing scheme because you even got Rick Rubin saying that 100% on Joe Rogan's podcast, shit like that. So I mean, is that a marketing scheme? I don't know. But I never really I still don't classify him as a great lyricist. He's got some cool bars here and there and stuff like that, but Kanye smoked him.
That's why Kanye go to Kanye, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Nas hella smoked him, right? You know what I'm saying? But like Nas said, Eminem even killed you on your own shit, and I don't like Eminem either. You know what I'm saying? But like everybody would kill him on a fucking track. You know what I'm saying?
It's like he did. Like 50 wrote the book, The 50 Laws of Power. Jay-Z was just secretly using the 48 Laws of Power. Like he was keeping all his enemies closer. If all his quote unquote enemies now on his team.
Yeah,
right?
And see, and the thing that 50 said, because have you listened to or have you read or listened to his book Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter, 50 Cent's book?
Tell us about it.
So it's a great fucking thing. I listen to it because I always gotta be doing something, right? And so I'm not ADHD, but I gotta be productive with my life. So I listen. I can't just sit and read.
ADHD is productive. Don't see. That's what I'm saying.
True.
Like, fuck the labels, man. Fuck the titles, man.
I get it.
They're designed to bring us down, destroy us. Come on.
True.
But
yeah, absolutely. But no, so I listen to a lot of stuff. So I listen to audiobooks, listen to podcasts, stuff like that, and get my knowledge up. I listen to YouTube. I don't watch YouTube, stuff like that. But anyway, so Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter, he actually talks about that, where he has a mentality, we can either be friends or we can be enemies.
Okay.
But he uses both to his advantage to win. You know what I'm saying? So like, for instance, in the book, he talks about, like you were saying, how Jay-Z uses the 48 laws of power, but 50 uses the 50 laws of power, right? He comes like, that's a way of having power, because whenever 50 Cent was beefing with Oprah, in his book he talks about is because he had reached out to Oprah's team or whatever about, hey, can we do a partnership or whatever? And they basically left him on red, right? And so he was like, okay. And so he was like, well, we can't be friends. Let's be enemies. And so he's all like, fuck Oprah, blah, 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 blah. And well, then Oprah's team reached out to him and was like, hey, what's going on? What's going on? And he's like, well, if we can't be friends, can we at least be enemies?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And he approaches that with everyone. I mean, look at him and Ja Rule. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's one of the funniest fucking ones. Even though, it's kind of sad at the same time, it's still funny as fuck. Like, that's how he approaches everything. His motto is, if we can't be friends, can we at least be enemies? And I think that is the 50th law of power, because that's how you can control your situation to the maximum. Because a lot of people will be like, oh, I got all these people against me. Well, people like me or people like 50 Cent are like, yeah, let's fucking go. Let's go. Fire. Come on, let's go. Well, you want to fight? Let's go, motherfucker. Type of thing, Like, I'm not like physical fight, but it's like, oh, you want to fight intelligent? Let's go. You know what I'm saying? I can fucking win. And so, yeah, exactly. I mean, if I have to, I will. But, that's like, that mentality is dope, man. His book and Young Jeezy's book, Adversity for Sale, are two that I would recommend to everybody, whether you're in hip hop or not.
Okay.
Because if you're an hour and 34 minutes into this episode and you've been liking what we've been talking about, you're definitely one of us. So you're one of those type of mental people that you can handle this type of shit, and it would actually be fuel to your fire. Those two books are pretty dope because both of those people overcame a lot of crazy shit in order to win. And they took the path of, I want to win at all costs. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we all know about 50 and his 9 shots, everything like that, right? He even talks about how after he got shot, he was so stricken with fear that he didn't even want to get close to the windows in his grandma's house, let alone go outside of it. And he didn't go outside of it.
Mm.
And then finally he was like, because like he was a big runner before. He's like, I need to go back out and go run, because he used to be a fat kid and he started working out and running and stuff like that. And he got addicted to that. And so he was like, hey, I'm starting to get fat again. I don't want to do that. I swore I'd never do that again. I need to go back out and run. But he was like, he's so stricken by fear. He's like, okay, I'll go out. I'm taking my gun with me, right? And he would put his gun like I think it's like under his shirt or under a vest or something like that, right? And he first started, he ran just down the block and back real quick, right? Short shit. And then he's like, okay, well, nothing happened. And then he kept going. And then he said that he started going further and further and further. And he started feeling more and more free. And then one day he was running and he saw the person who shot him. And that person ignored him. He ran right past him. Like nothing happened. There was no situation. And he was like, oh, okay. And so that's when he was like, I'm never going to be afraid of anything ever again in my life. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that. Or like Young Jeezy. His whole life, everybody thought he was fucking mentally slow, because he would always be the one just sitting there listening and watching. Right? And everybody's like, oh, you know, that's Lil J.
Observation, knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, that's Lil J. He's just slow. But no, what he was doing, he was watching everybody and learning and listening and everything like that. And so that's how he was able to be one of the biggest movers of weight in the Atlanta Macon area. And nobody, like, people knew who he was and he can go flash, but at the same time he had like a multi-million-dollar penthouse apartment, and nobody in that building knew who he really was. They thought he was like an Atlanta like fucking baseball player or something like that and shit like that. And so like he was able to maneuver all of that, and even though the walls were coming in around him, he still did whatever he had to do to get by.
Yeah.
You know, and so like those kind of stories with all the details when they're telling you all these stories and everything like that from their life, dude, I learned so much shit off of it just with like the morality tale of it and stuff. Even though I didn't go through any of the shit that either one of them went through, I'm still like, okay, but I see what they had stacked against them and then what they had to do to get across past it. And so I'm like, all right, well, I need to apply that knowledge in my own personal life. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so that's what I try to do. And so that's how I approach things as well, too. So when people say, well, no, that can't be done because of this, that, or whatever, I'm like, fuck that shit. Let's figure out a way. You know, because the way I see obstacles are things that you need to figure out a way around or over or under, or say, fuck it and go right through it.
Right.
You know?
I appreciate the fact that I'm enjoying letting you share such detail of your study and your research, and it makes sense, you know, to do so, because after all, you're a Music Making Sense podcast, right? So this is a great experience, and it's probably a unique one for the YNet 7, because we're able to merge the two worlds. Because I was always the artist that was like, I don't really want to talk about that, because when I kind of lived some of it, right? So the stuff I would be talking about would be like, I don't want to talk about it because I
don't want to relive it.
Right. You know what I mean? And then now, fast forward to today, not that I was on Rico level shit, but you know, the same ways in there saying, hey, why are you putting that stuff in your songs, was what I was looking at back then when I was like, yeah, I don't really want to, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and then so my little thing with music went like this. It was like, when I was younger, I was all immersed in it. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't separate me from the headphones at school, bus, back. Only time was when we were playing football or basketball and maybe riding a bike or something like that, right? But then it came a time when I started getting into knowledge itself. And you had that shift, and when you're going through that confusion and that war within yourself of, is this music the enemy? Is it not? Right?
Mm.
Long before I realized to appreciate it for its therapeutic value, like I said, it's a coping mechanism because all the world is either experiencing someone got shot, they either shot somebody, we've either pumped drugs, whether it's weed, coke, now it's fentanyl, or your auntie was on crack back in the day, you watched her, wither away and die. Like everybody's got those traumatic experiences, and revisiting the trauma per just happen to have it by me, per a book like this, How the Body Keeps Score, revisiting the trauma is actually one of the most easy ways to cope with it and to heal over time. So we know it has therapeutic value, but when you first get to some of these thought processes, you're like, that music is the enemy, and you're in a division with yourself, you're fighting with yourself, in a war with yourself. But yet I spent 13 years in a club 3 to 5 nights a week, literally, and so I'm hearing what makes a hit song constantly, boom, 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 boom. This is why I was like, let me help you make hit songs. I don't want to do it, but I can help you. We were talking about that earlier, right? So then you fast forward a little bit, and it got to the point in time where now I got the TVs in the car. So I'm not really buying CDs no more. I'm buying DVD music, and they only had limited songs on those. Right. My music thing shrunk, and then by the time you get into the study of knowledge and self, and it's kind of like I just got away from music because I was becoming more serious of an artist, and that's like right around the time I said, well, the best thing for me to do is to stop listening to the radio, stop listening to other artists, and develop my own sound. So that lasted for about 10 years, right? And then I just started to creep back into it really slowly over time. But when you look at the challenges and obstacles you said like to overcome, when you are telling people that you're an American and not a United States citizen, they're looking at you like you're crazy. But then you win that first court case yourself. See, I won 3 of my own court cases.
Right? Yeah, you tell me about that. It's pretty dope.
The only reason I'm not a felon is because I've been in 3. I got away in 3 police chases. That's why we used to race all the time. We used to get cars where 97 Chevy Cavalier pull up on the block. Oh shit, that's your new shit. Yeah, this is my new shit. Okay, everybody hop in their shit. We race from Wilmington, Delaware to Philly, and turn around, come back, race back, just to break in our new car.
Damn.
Like this, and we going to the mall. We doing 100 miles an hour. Like that was what we always did. So when it came down to it,
you already knew how to drive like that.
You already knew how to drive or to travel, because I'm not a driver. I'm a traveler.
Right. Yeah, you know how to get from A to B. Right.
We get there.
You know how to do it. You do it. Yeah.
So that's my point. Like I have a great appreciation when you come from that world. I'm still confused why you rap about it, right? If you're actually doing it, but that's another conversation. But when you come from that world and you had those experiences, they give you appreciation for all the different levels in life.
Well, I think that some people rap about it because they're not doing it, and obviously there's the poser element. But the people who are actually doing it or who have done it, the ones who do, I think maybe that's just their way of processing things. You know what I'm saying? Like, not the ones who are doing it like extra braggadocious, but like you said, like if you're out there really doing it, why are you talking about it? I think you got the element of some of them that are trying to be like, oh yeah, I'm that guy. They're trying to make the image, but some of them are just speaking their reality. And that's the way for them to process what's going on, is for them to just be like, hey, I need to recognize the reality. Let me lyrically recognize this reality that I'm in, and then they use that as a way of kind of like getting it out, to therapize it, right? You know what I'm saying? Just like I've known artists who write about like their mental health pain. You know what I'm saying? And when they write it out, it's the therapy for them. You know what I'm saying? When they create the song, they get it out, and it's a therapy for them. And I've wrote some tracks like that myself, and that's like how it is. It's not that you're glorifying whatever situation that you're in by putting out your music like that, but you're actually working that shit out with yourself. So like the people who are like, yeah, selling crack to the kids, who the hell cares, all that shit. It's just like, wait, like I'm selling crack to somebody else's mom, somebody's sister, somebody's fucking dad, somebody's brother. somebody's child. Yeah, I just gave that 10-year-old over there a fucking Glock and told him to go hit something. Like, the fuck am I doing?
So what's
But-
the difference between giving them a Glock and giving them a degree?
Right.
Now
Exactly.
you see why. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly. But see,
From that artist standpoint, exactly what you just said.
yeah,
The weaponization factor and the thought process that it's something terrible because he's 10 years old and I'm giving him a murder case.
I think
What's the
sometimes
difference between that and a degree?
I think sometimes they can't see past the reality that they're in. So the reality that they're in, they think that's all there is. That's all there ever was. That's all there ever will be. I ain't gonna be nothing more than this. So I might as well make the most out of this because I could die at any day. I could fucking go to jail anytime. You know what I'm saying? My number can be pulled at any time for a lot of different reasons.
Right.
And so yeah, instead of giving that 10-year-old a degree, they give him a gun. It's because, well, when I was your age, I got this. This is what I got when I was your age. This is what everybody else gets when they're your age.
Nah, hold on.
This
Let
is
me
how we
rephrase the
do
question.
around here.
Let me rephrase the question.
You think I misunderstood? Okay.
I think you're adding value, and now
Mm.
I want to give you the opportunity to add more value. Okay.
Oh, dude, the way you reword things are fucking awesome sometimes because I'm like, oh, did I understand? You're like, no, you're adding value. I want you to add more value. I'm like, yo, you could just say I misunderstood your question.
You know what it is though? See, that's part of the disconnect some people have because
Right.
to be true, right? To be absolutely true, you have to consider the infinity.
Right.
So
And
you're
see-
not wrong.
That's one thing I like about you too, man, is that you're one of those super beings of words have the most power.
Absolutely.
What you even said that too. What words you use have the most power. So that's why you choose your words very, very wisely. You know.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that is a good thing, especially with you trying to put that message out as well too. If people start picking up on little things here and there, even if it's just the American versus U.S. citizen thing, or you know, like what you just did to me. No, you didn't misunderstand. You're dropping knowledge. I want you to drop some more.
Right.
You know, type of thing.
Speaking
Like-
of which,
Yeah.
watch this. Cause see, I'd look at it like this, right? Like I said, once you dive into this, I just didn't go super conscious with it because I still lived that. I came from that environment.
Mm.
So I didn't go comment and all that stuff because I was like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, but you know, what I'm saying is this really in reality, the degree is the gun at 10 years old. Think about it. Parents are ruining their kids' lives, forcing them to get in line to go get a fucking degree so they can spend $50,000 to $300,000 to get a fucking degree, come out, never use the shit, be a slave in the system with a debt. Now they can never be the artist. They can never become the Picasso because they're too worried about working at the Walmart we were talking about earlier, paying their electric bill.
Right.
The fucking
And
degree is the gun.
yeah, that is true. That is true. It is
You're
because
still doing a bid.
especially the same situation too. You're doing a hell of a bid. You know, you're doing 25 to life
Right.
because
Thank
Yeah.
you for translating.
exactly you are because like if you don't pay off your college loans within 25 years, that's just going to stick with you for life because at that rate, if you can't pay it off within 25 years, you're probably going to be paying it off for the rest of your life. You can't
Not
fucking
even
file
paying it
bankruptcy to get rid of it.
Not
You're-
even
you're
that part
stuck
of
with
it. You're stuck not being yourself.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
You're forced into doing something else.
Because you're forced to choose what you want to do for the rest of your life before you even know what the fuck life is. You know what I'm
Never
saying?
get to see the continuum.
My day job, I manage a restaurant, right? And it's located on a college campus. Okay. For my own wanting to stay at Hermit, I won't say what college it is, right? But it's located on a college campus.
Mhm.
And I have two college kids that work for me, right? And one of them, like they both don't know what they want to do. One's a freshman, one's a sophomore. They both don't really know what they want to do. But one of them, the sophomore, he picked the degree of video game design because he's like, hey, I kind of like that kind of stuff. I like video game stuff like that. This wouldn't be a bad thing for me to do for the rest of my life because this is something I've always kind of been into, right? So he kind of chose something like that, which is similar to what I did in a way. When I graduated high school, I said, I want to go to the military because I've always kind of liked military style shit. I was in like a youth auxiliary whenever I was a kid because I wanted to be in that, because ever since I was a little kid, me and my friends were always playing war out in the neighborhood and stuff like that. Always watching war movies, Saving Private Ryan, Band of Brothers, all that shit, right? You know, Black Hawk Down, all that shit. Like that was like the thing, you know, that was like bleeding that shit. So whenever I went in, I was like, yo, I want to do this. It wouldn't be a bad thing to do for 20 years, obviously, if I live, you know what I'm saying? Like all that kind of stuff. And so like that's what I want to do. So that's why I recognized in that kid, I'm like, hey, you know, even though after 3 years I said fuck this and got the fuck out of the military and never turned back, he might do something like that as well too. But he's at least going to have some arts type of skills, computer type skills he can take with him. The other kid, he has no fucking clue. Like he initially had business analytics, and now he's still a freshman. This is his first semester of college. He's already changing his major to mechanical engineering. But what he's doing is a little bit smart too, is he's in multiple different clubs, and in the clubs they do different projects and stuff like that. And so he's like, oh, I like these mechanical engineering clubs. They speak to me a little bit more because the projects we're doing, I like that shit, you know? And so he's at least trying to dip his toe in, but at the same time, they both had their parents say, all right, you're graduating high school. What college are you going to go to? What degree are you going to go get?
Who's paying for it? If you don't mind, if you know, who's paying for it?
So the sophomore, I believe his parent, I believe both of their parents are. I believe both of their parents are.
Let me ask you how you feel about this.
The freshman might have some student loans, but I don't think the sophomore does, because he said his dad is decently well off.
For parents that are paying for their kids to go to school, from your perspective, do you think it would be more advantageous to take that same $30,000, $50,000, $300,000 for the full tuition ride and let that individual youth start their own business, or have opportunity to start maybe one or two businesses with those same funds, and explore that way, versus, like you said, switching up majors and maybe still never using it when you get finished finally?
Well, what I would rather do, honestly, like if I had the financial ability, because I got two 15-year-old kids, if I had the financial ability to pay for a 4-year college for them, right? If I had the financial ability to possibly do that, I would much rather tell them, say, hey, don't go get a 4-year degree. For the next 4 years, take as many individual courses as you would like, and I'll pay for them. And try all different kinds of shit and see what speaks to you. And then at the end of the 4 years, whatever's left over out of this, whatever set budget, $300K or whatever's left over, I'll give to you to use, and you go start your own business. Or if you don't want to start a business, you're like, hey, I just want to be a cog in the wheel. I want to be a fucking financial analyst, right? Okay, here's something to put down on a house or an apartment or whatever the fuck, right? This is what I give you. This is my, you know, graduation from high school gift, right? I think that could do so much more for kids if you're like, hey, you know, go get a couple technical degrees, or just take some courses, right? Like take online courses and stuff like that. Learn how to do Amazon drop shipping. Learn how to, you know, learn, you know, hair and nails. Learn how to be a barber. Learn all these different things. Try them out for a little bit, because you're going to spend so much less money, and your kid's going to get so much more value out of doing that. You know what I'm saying?
I can see that.
And let them have the creativity to where they can experiment with things. But the things they're experimenting in, it's not like them going from working at Arby's to working at McDonald's to working at, you know, a factory. You know what I'm saying? It's not like that kind of experimenting on see what they want to do. Like I've worked fast food, gas station, sales, all different kinds of jobs, bouncing around, trying to figure out what the fuck I want to do with my life, right? Military, mechanics, all kinds of shit like that, right? But if you have them go get these different certifications, then they have this wealth of knowledge and skills that they can mold into something of their own for their own business. Or they can pick and choose what they want to do, but now they got a certification. They're not going out there empty-handed with no experience and no certification. You know what I'm saying? Because like for instance, you know, this guy gets a degree in mechanical engineering. Well, yeah, he can go get a job in mechanical engineering, but if he feels like he wants to blow his brains out by doing that every fucking day, well, now he's going to go, well, you know what I really want to do is the
lyrics to that Tupac song.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, no, what I really want to do is I want to be something else, like anything else, right? Well, now I got this degree for this. I want to go do that. Well, now I got to go get another degree for that. You know what I'm saying? Or now I got to go get the training, or now I got to work my way up through entry level shit to get to where I need to go. You know what I'm saying? Instead of him learning how, like, for instance, if he decides he wants to go be a business owner, well, now he's got to learn how to start and run a business. But in order to do that, one great skill that I personally recommend is learning how to be a manager within a business, because then you're going to learn how to not only own and operate your business, but also manage the day-to-day. If you have other people, you can manage that as well too, and that kind of helps you keep going with there as well too. So no, like, some people are like, oh, let's give the kids 1 or 2 years of a gap year or whatever, right? It's like, no, if you have the financial ability to pay for them, pay for them. Or even if you only have the financial ability to let them live underneath your roof and you feed them still, right? Because bare minimum, that's gonna be cheaper. You know what I'm saying? And then they're going out and getting student loans for these different degrees, or even personal loans or whatever, right? Something like that. If you're gonna get saddled with debt, or if you're gonna pay for it yourself, whatever in between, have it be these little micro choices instead of these macro choices. That's what I suggest.
I think what I hear is that we are agreeing.
Yeah, especially with the way, especially with the way that the information age is today. Oh, there's KP up in this motherfucker. That's my co-host on Music Making Sense podcast. He's in the messenger right here on YouTube. But anyway,
always the perfect day.
Always. And perfect time too. He's hella late, but it's a perfect time. But with the way that the information age is right now, where you can go and spend $300,000, $600,000 on a course and then take it and learn the knowledge and everything like that, maybe even have some kind of consultation with that person who created the course and stuff like that as well too. You can do all those little kinds of things, and you can gain more knowledge in a faster amount of time and in different ways than like, oh, cram this book down your fucking head and take a test on it. It's like, no, here, learn this information and now go and do it. You know what I'm saying? I think that kind of stuff is going to be way better for this next generation, these Gen Zers, than anything that's millennials. I think you're Gen X, right? No, you're initial millennial. That's right. Us millennials, or even before us, we're getting told all this other bullshit. It wasn't available for us to do that stuff then. I couldn't go take 4 different courses in a year and figure out how to do 4 different things that will help me create a great business. I couldn't have done that back, 2005 when I graduated high school. I had to go to a business management degree and learn
the same thing.
Shit. Yeah.
Right. So what it is that when we look at it, we're saying the same thing. It's just a different way of doing it. So when I said, hey, let them start the businesses, right? And you're like, hey, let's let them get some different courses. Well, here's the parallel. If you decide you want to be a barber today, then start up your barber business. What does it take to start a business? Well, part of starting a business is making sure you're trained and educated on it. And you got to learn this. And then you go get your barbering license. But guess what? They don't teach you how to fade in that. So then you got to go learn to fade and practice that and go. So
and there's
the courses
where you can tattoo the hairlines on and shit.
Yeah, all that stuff. The Beijing, like I was Beijing for like 2 years straight. You know what I mean? They had to stop me. I was next to the industry. You know what I'm saying? So, like I was doing some high level photography shit. So that's where I got all the pictures with all the celebrities from during that time. So, let them go, and then if they say, "Hey, I'm gonna pivot. I don't want to be a barber no more." Okay, well, you had 10,000 to start that up. Of the 50, you got that far with it. You change your mind. You got a couple more options here before you're exhausted, but you're gaining all this experience and momentum that's gonna have you be something else. And let me pivot for a moment and say, I appreciate your service in the military. For what I know, you said how you wound up there, right? Like you were playing war games. Me and my people were playing Mission Impossible. That was my thing. We were playing Mission Impossible.
We did that too when Mission Impossible 1 came out. We were making the red and the green gum out of paper, and we were using like colored pencil and stuff like that. And then like out at recess, this is like 4th, 5th grade, we would like smash it together, put it on something, and run away because it was gonna blow up and shit. Yeah, we did that shit too.
So that changed my route, because my father was in the military.
Mm.
for like 13 years. My grandfather was in the military, and I almost went, but 2% body fat kept me out of it. I was supposed to go burn it off and come back and get the weed measure, and I was like, you know what, fuck that shit. They didn't have my family for long enough. I ain't going. Right.
Right.
And then I started that allowed me to become who I became, right?
Mm.
Now later on you learn that the only real true branch of the military to the nation is the Navy.
Mm.
The Army and the Air Force are really just paid mercenaries of the United States corporation.
Mm.
So there's danger there. I don't fault people for going because most of them don't realize that, right? And that's why when you see the Navy, they have everything else inside the Navy. The Air Force, equivalent to the Air Force, and Army, military, Marines, all that good stuff as well, right?
Right.
So I think that's great. Let's see what he said. I was watching Marsoa Media Inc., which teaches drums, guitar, piano, vocals online. See, so he's got a great thing there. You're doing music, so are the Marines, right? Let's go back to this because that directly ties into what we were just talking about. Hey, you doing music? We know this doing music because we're sitting there one day. We might look something up, and be like, hey, what? And we go through 10 days of rabbit holes to find out. You know, we want to do it this way. After we saw them do it that way, we decided we're not going to do it that way. But we learned something from watching them do it that way that made us do it this way, and now we got our own thing going on.
Right. You almost ran out of breath doing that. Right. Exactly.
And that's part of why I appreciate, you know, your commentary here, because I'm so much like a computer. Everything's so normally, right? It's compressed, it's short, because I speak in terms of infinity. And I lack that emotional element, right? So I appreciate you translating, because whether you realize it or not, a lot of the stuff you're saying is what I'm saying. And then now you're speaking the language, like I said, for the people that relate to you, that I don't need to step in front of and try to say, you need to be like this. No, you don't. You need to be you and listen to Harkos tell you what I'm saying or what we agree on and what we disagree on in a way that you can respect and relate to it. That's the value of this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely see what you're saying. That because we are saying a lot of the same things, it's just we're saying it differently.
Yeah,
you know, and people can do that a lot too. It's just sometimes they don't look past themselves to see that.
Too busy trying to convert everybody.
Yeah, exactly. The stuff like that, and then they're trying to be like, well, what I'm saying is right. You're not saying exactly what I'm saying, so you must be wrong. It's like, I mean, they're saying the same shit. They're just different words. You know what I'm saying? Like that's one of the beauties about the English language. It's a beauty and it's a pain in the ass. There's so many fucking synonyms. You know what I'm saying?
Ambiguity is the key word for contracts. Since we're doing music, you know, podcast here, you need to know your contract. So you got to know the term ambiguity.
They get very ambiguous with contracts.
And the four corner rules, you know, the ambiguity can be your friend and it can be your enemy.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So,
and see, that's one place where I personally, I can read the fuck out of a contract for some reason. And I can sit there and I can read between everything and everything like that. And so you know, one thing too is that whenever I went into the what's that?
It's the original 1933 Black's Law Dictionary.
Damn.
3rd edition. Got the banking terms dictionary.
What are you like chilling in a library right now with your podcast? Pretty much.
I mean, you see the word authority. The word authority, right?
Yeah.
The word authority doesn't mean the person. The etymology of the word authority is the book or the quote that settles the question. Now, people can memorize the book or the quote so that the authority is in them. They can regurgitate it to you because they just know it. Reference section this, da 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 da. They spit it out to you, or they tell you in layman's terms, but they're just reciting what they read. But the authority is always in the book or the quote that settles the question. So,
way to put it.
Like you have your authority on the wall behind you, and there's more too. That's your library. Right, or that's part of your library. I'm gonna say that's the limit.
Right. That's not the whole thing.
right. And I
didn't learn everything I know off of C Murder. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, look, C Murder, man. Look, you taught Jerry. Look, ain't no
right. Yeah. Lil Jon didn't teach me everything. Neither did T.I. You know what I'm saying? Or Dr. Dre.
Man, Lil Jon taught everybody everything. One word. Yeah.
From the window to the wall.
Okay.
Okay.
It's all
What?
good. Okay. No matter
What?
what.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all you need to know right there in life. What? Okay.
Dude, Dave Chappelle's skit with him was fucking hilarious.
Yo.
You remember that one? Did you ever see that one? The
Yeah,
Dave
yeah.
Chappelle, when it was like, he said the doctor's like, what? What?
I like the Rick James one too.
Rick James was a classic, man. Rick James was a classic. And then there's, of course, there's the infamous The White Family Named Something Else. That one was hilarious. Especially the first time you watch it. Especially when it first came out back in the early 2000s. You're like, yo, I can't believe this is on TV.
Yeah.
That's what tripped me out the most. I was just like, whoa, really? He's really going there. You know, but yeah, like that dude was a fucking genius.
Same parallel when we talked about the Kendrick situation.
Oh,
Remember you
yeah.
said you can't believe it's on TV, but
He
when
had
you
to
look
put
at it,
messages in it. Yeah.
totally supported the agenda while giving the message.
Mhm.
But the high level overview was it supported the agenda.
Absolutely. Yeah, because he was
$1 million.
always looked at as, oh, he's one of those black versus white comedians and stuff. But a lot of the stuff he was talking about had a lot of hidden shit in there too.
So with the black versus white stuff, right? I know, because like I think there's an opportunity for people to really get over that, especially in hip hop, right? Because when we talk about the American versus the United States shit, the new racism is your thought process.
Hmm.
It's the fact that if you start thinking, like we talked about earlier, it's critical thinking, truthful thinking, whatever, you're now going to be discriminated upon because it makes you more harder or it makes you not as easy to be controlled.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now that we're throwing skin color out the window, right? For the people that get it, what do we got to do on the hip hop level? Like I said, I'm over here now in new age zeitgeist shit. We forming a union, right? We trying to,
Right.
they know what we trying to do. But for the hip hop mind, help me comprehend what we need to do to translate that to the community on that scale, not just in the level of, hey, let's be friends, but on a level of we need to form this platoon, this company for this campaign, right? Militarily speaking, to create the sustainable communities and empower ourselves. Like, how do we approach it on that level without sounding corny?
Without sounding corny, I would say it would be about developing strategic partnerships.
Okay.
And strategic partnerships in the way of developing those partnerships to where you get your overall goal accomplished. So kind of running on steam mentally, so I can't really think of a good analogy. But instead of just trying to put it in the lyrics and try to build a movement behind the music and stuff like that, right? It would be more about like collaborating on songs with other people who, in order to make something happen, having it be in the visual portion of the art, building different partnerships with different forms of media to where your music is like the anthem to something that they're doing and stuff like that as well too. You supporting them, cross promoting and stuff like that as well. Those would probably be ways to break all of that you're talking about, but to also build something substantial and something in the way of change.
I get it. I like it.
You know what I'm saying? Because like, for instance,
we're over the 2 hour mark.
Okay.
I'm just saying we're over the 2 hour mark. I know you were talking about you was running out of steam.
Oh, no. It's just my mental steam was like starting to fizzle a little bit.
Gotcha.
But like for like being like hyper creative and I think of good analogies and shit.
Hey, come
But
on, man.
no, I get it. But no, but like for instance with hip hop, I'm a white dude who's been into hip hop, and I face the adversity of, think of Beacon's Rebellion for hip. I don't know the reference, KP, sorry. But like, I faced a lot of adversity growing up in a predominantly white town and loving hip hop. You know what I'm saying? That was rare as fuck and it was frowned upon in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I came to realize through my further exploration into hip hop that a lot of people within hip hop broke a lot of the racism bullshit just by collaborating with other people. Their music didn't say, "Hey, we need to come together and get along." It wasn't them redoing another version of Ebony and Ivory, but in hip hop, right? They were actually just coming together on some shit. And in the video, you see white dudes, Asian dudes, black dudes, whatever, you know what I'm saying, in the lyrics and everything like that. Like there were a lot of predominant white people and Asians and black people that all came together in New York in the beginning of hip hop to actually get it moving, and who have been doing that. It's been going on ever since then, so they've broken the racism without sounding corny by then just creating partnerships and making shit happen. And so then the message that they put wasn't, "Hey, everybody come together," that's they were putting it together and just saying, "Hey, here's a dope track. It's produced by all of us. Hey, this is a dope movement that we're doing to try to grow the community. It's put together by all of us." It's not all about, "Hey, we're unifying, we're ending racism and all that stuff." They just did it. They didn't talk shit. They did it.
So, got Bacon's Rebellion on the screen there, and it was fought from 1676 to 1677. It began with a local dispute with the Doji Indians on I may be pronouncing that wrong, Potomac River, chased north by Virginia militiamen, who also attacked the otherwise uninvolved Susquehannocks. The Indians began raiding the Virginia frontier. So, if we're all being oppressed, brainwashed, controlled, weaponized, robbed from our original state of status, confused mentally, and made to be in this mental prison for those who are called the United States citizen, then I gotta ask you, so that maybe for the people that made it this far, or we'll just chop it up later and make this a minute long, 3 minute long segment or something.
Yeah.
If all the United States citizens are minorities by definition, right? Because the word minority doesn't mean what most people apply it to with the skin color. What it means is to be of childlike mind, right? So remember, if you've been removed from your superior status and now put into a giant orphanage called the United States unknowingly because you believe it's something else, like when you hire an attorney, for example,
that's why it's called the nanny state.
Right. You can't speak in court because they're looking at you as being incompetent of handling your own affairs, right? So that's why they're looking at you as a minority, childlike mind. So once everybody realized that, hey, your citizenship is saying that you're all a minority. So all of those people that think they're quote unquote white and looking at maybe somebody that looks like me, not, thinking that they're different, but they check that box to say, that political subdivision box to say United States citizen or white person or anything like that. They got to realize that's why I brought up the civil rights movement in the beginning of this, because most people don't understand what that really was. It was not, oh, let's free this one group of people. It was, let's bring all the other people down to the same level and confuse them with these legal terms for entertainment purposes that they won't understand what would happen to them. So now, once we in hip hop realize, hey, look, that like that word you think you can't say, the N word. Well, the way that people feel on their side of the fence that are using it aggressively or slanderingly or whatever, they don't realize that they are them too now, right? Now, once we hit them with that truth, and we see that we're all been fucking oppressed,
right?
What does it take for, like you said, Bacon's rebellion? Now we gotta come together, and now you start to see the value, because the reason why these 2 hours were so valuable is because once we agree on the destination, Simon Sinek, it makes it easier to overcome all obstacles. So we need to set the destination. We need to say, no, hip hop no longer is going to be doing this to people because we now know what it's doing. We're gonna still have hip hop. I'm not saying don't be hip hop. Just because I'm over here new age and don't mean you got a new age, right?
Right.
But now we can say what we want hip hop to do for us. We can take back control of the product instead of basically being on the plantation of the label.
And asking permission. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things that I see with trying to build something to be truly independent within this music shit, whether hip hop or not, is that you have the ability to build your own independent thing and not ask people for permission. In general, especially for like all the small things. Go, can I say this? Can I not say that? You just do. Yeah, you have different business transactions that need to happen and stuff like that, and it has to be an agreement because we're not here by force. But it is something that people can just do and just be. They can be free if they want to be. I like how you put it in there. Minority means the childlike mind and stuff, and that's how a lot of people see things. Is that a lot of people do have a childlike mind, and then the people who control them refer to them as children. Like that's how our rulers talk to us. Like that's why they say if you want to reach the masses, you need to speak at most a 5th grade reading level. And I heard somebody said that they diagnosed the way Trump speaks, and he is exactly at 5th grade level, right? And that's why he resonates the most, right? That's what I heard somebody say, right? They said
hold on. Hold on, KP. I'm gonna come right back to you, KP. Look, because when you said that, what flashed in my mind? That that meme. It's not a meme, but it's like a video clip where they're going back and forth between Trump and I guess Biden, or maybe it was Obama, whatever. But he was, one's all eloquent, this, that, and the other, and like, yeah, we're going to go over and we're going to invade and we're going to do this. And he was like, whoever stands up, they're getting shot. It was like, kill. We're gonna kill him. That's it. Big bang, boom.
Yep. It was like, yep. I remember that. Yeah,
he's the dopest president, even though he's not my president. I mean, meaning because I'm American and that's the U.S. citizenship. But,
right.
I like that about him.
Right.
I like that about him.
It was probably between him and Obama, because people do that contrast a lot. They're like, what? We had this eloquent speaker and stuff like that, and then now all of a sudden we got somebody who's like, we're gonna win. We're gonna win so good. You'll be asking, why weren't we winning? Please, no more winning. No more winning. And it's like, what? Who talks like that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But everyone's like, yeah, I want to win. But when Obama's like, we need to make the change that everybody wants to believe in, blah, blah, blah. People are like, okay, yeah.
Both highly effective.
Right.
Different stimulations.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I always like that about Trump myself. So KP says
he might be coming back, so you might be able to enjoy some more.
I mean, when you look at what's going on, to understand, not to deviate too far because I want to get to KP, but
right.
All the presidents are selected ahead of time. So who better to be in place during the bankruptcy of a corporation? Because you think it's the government, you think it's the nation, but for entertainment purposes, let's just pretend it's a corporation. Who better to be in place of that bankruptcy than the bankruptcy king himself, Trump? So KP says also during
to divide people and distract than somebody who is highly divisive by nature, because that's his game plan on how to gain the attention. That's his.
But it's not a distraction. It's a leadership standpoint that the media uses all the time. It's called, what they call that, Manchurian dialect or something, where you want to say this, you want to say this line right here in the middle.
Alien dialect.
And you bring over somebody the far extreme this way, far extreme that way. Let them two go at it, and then you're able to step in the middle and say, "See, this is where we should be," and it's natural.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's true.
KP says also during the resurrection, white and black folks were coming together economically. Then plantation owners started manipulating poor white folks. And when you go back to the civil rights era, the first people fighting for civil rights were European of descent, because they were. The term black is not about skin color, it's about nationality. It actually means of unknown origin. Right, so hence the title of the law book, Black's Law Dictionary. Right, but the point of the matter is the first black people in this land were of European descent. They just don't teach it like this, right? So when you go back and look at the first civil rights people protests and all this stuff, it was the Europeans fighting for civil rights. See, and this is why, you know, they pulled the wool over everybody's eyes when they you know, I'm not saying people that look like me didn't get there. Really, for me, it's a manipulation because we were already here. Like when you look at Webster's dictionary, 1828, American is the copper colored people found here by the Europeans when they arrived. The picture of the Indians they sold us in school, that was the mixed relationship between the people that were the copper colored people look like me and the Chinese that were on the west side. You know what I mean? In the middle, in the plains where they teach, when you think about Indians, you think about plains and buffaloes. That's where they, you know, there was interbreeding. So then those were to look like Indians. So a lot of this stuff was manipulated to just keep us from knowing the truth, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's just like the it was already civilized here in cities. They want you to believe it was the Newfoundland.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Because I mean, like, especially down in Central and South America, it was hella developed and like ahead of its time, and it was doing a lot of things that supposedly it should have never known how to do, but it was developing independently. You know what I'm saying? It was building pyramids and aqueducts independent of what was going on the other side of the world. It was doing the same shit.
Now, now translate that to music, Harkos.
Yeah.
We talking the word independent artists, but even we just spent 2 hours telling about how despite the claims independent, it's all connected and fucking with each other, good and bad. So it was a worldwide civilization back then. If you look at if you Google the world's fairs, right? You heard of them before, right?
Right.
Their story was like, oh, we built this elaborate little mini city
to showcase all the technology of the world. Yeah.
For a 6-month fair and then tore it down, quote unquote, afterwards, because that's all we built it for. But in reality, all of this shit was already there. But the reason they had to come up with the story to get rid of it is because the architecture matched the architecture of the rest of the world, like ancient Greece. Like you can look at the San Francisco World Fair and you wouldn't know that you were standing in America. When you looked at that, you might think you were in the Mediterranean. Your state capitol buildings have similar architecture. The technology you're talking about, back then they were extracting electricity from the atmosphere. It was free electricity. When we were talking about the little Marshall Mathers wouldn't be able to become Eminem because he was working to pay his electric bill, that wouldn't be a problem if we had free electricity. This is why we need to come together and tell, you know, what we want the future to be and decide on that. And use all of our tools, hip hop included, to drive us to that destination. You see what I'm saying?
I see
the value.
I see what you're saying, man. And stuff like that always intrigues me because, like, we know how our population today gets reality distorted, and then new truths are put in place of the actual truths. And so I've always wondered that too, whenever I hear people talk the way you just did about, you know, hey, this was already here, that was already here, it's been whitewashed and removed, and we've been told different things. I sit and wonder, I'm like, that's a high possibility, you know, because everybody always quotes, oh, you know, history is written by the victors. It's like, yeah, but what the victors also do is they erase history at the same time. You know, and we always talk about it like when the conquistadors went down to Central South America and they were wiping out all the Aztec and Incan and Mayan stuff, and how we only have like 2 codices from the Maya when there was supposed to be thousands of codices that they had in like their library that they had and shit like that, but they all got burnt by, you know, the priests and shit like that. Exactly. See, there's that stuff like that, you know, and then how miraculously we found the one Rosetta Stone that was able to allow us to unlock the whole Mayan language, as well as the Incan and Aztec language. It's like, hold on. There was this stone that had the right set of words and shapes and diagrams on there to help you unlock 3 different languages that spanned over a couple millennia, well, that sounds like a intentional collection of knowledge. Why were they doing that? Why were they doing that at a time when they were just supposed to be, oh, they're doing barbaric shit like ripping out people's fucking hearts on the top of pyramids and shit, you know? And like these rulers think that they're gods and they're having this, like, okay, yeah, I'm sure there were some people that got interbred a couple too many times and now they're doing some weird fuck shit. But it's like, there's so much more to it. You know, like, no, I don't believe that the pyramids were built in 3500 BC. They had to have been way beyond that because
or more recent.
Possible. I could see being way before that, and then we just had interruptions in our society, you know, over time that, you know, we start going up and then there's a major interruption, then we got to kind of keep crawling back, and every time we crawl back, we do it a little bit differently because, like, for the plan of history to go, oh, we were hunters and gatherers for hundreds of thousands of years as Homo sapiens, right? And then all of a sudden, we're like, you know what? We don't want to be hunters and gatherers anymore. We want to start farming, and then we want to build megalithic structures. And he's just like, why were they building megalithic structures? Oh, because their rulers, they thought they were gods, and so they wanted to build a tomb for them. It's like, okay, well then why did they build these little chambers that humans can barely even get through? And they built it with huge granite stones. Why'd they build the chambers? Oh, that was so the essence could get out. It's like, man, you think that these people are fucking retarded.
That's why I put the cyborg up there, the robot.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're basically saying that actual mentally handicapped people built huge megalithic structures that align with polar north, not magnetic north, as well as align right with stars in the sky, precisely, scalably, and also they have certain alignment with the equinoxes, and they were lined up precisely with certain stars in the sky during the time of Leo, and then they put a big ass fucking cat right next to it. But they called it Leo then too. They knew it looked like a lion and all that shit. And I'm just like, yo, we don't know shit, and it might be by design.
We know the first thing you gotta do to get out of the, you know, first level of consciousness is to say we don't know what we don't know, right? And I think you bring up some interesting things, and I appreciate spending a couple minutes on this because, especially for the split channels, because this is broadcasting on your channel as well,
right?
And to your audience, and I respect that and the diversity of the conversation as we just for a moment deviate from the exclusive music talk, but tying it into why it's important is, are you familiar with the Mormon temple in Salt Lake?
Vaguely. I haven't looked deep into it, but I know it's interesting.
All right, well, check this out. If you look at the picture on the right, when you were talking about the resets,
right?
So when we do that, you see there the two lines there. So that first top line, that first top dotted line,
that's the new.
It's ground level. When they said in their story of when it was built, how it was built, and you know the Mormons went west and they settled in Utah, and then they built all these megalithic structures in these multiple cities with 15,000, 20,000 men, women, and children, right?
Yeah, but they
back in horse and buggy.
But you can see that they built on older structures. And what's really interesting about Mormonism too,
not built on older structures. It was already there, and it was partially buried. So when they found it intact, they just built a new entrance. See, if you look right below this at this line, this was the original ground level, 14 feet below the bottom of the stairs from when they said they built it. And there's another entrance right here, the original entrance. And then this goes down another 16 feet to where they stopped digging, and then they still weren't at the bottom of the building. So to support your mentioning of the resets periodically, this whole city was, I ain't gonna say the whole city, but this is where you heard me say the cities were already here, but it didn't fit the narrative of it being a newfound world.
Mm,
So we were
makes sense.
already here, civilized out. The Capitol building in the middle of Broad Street in Philly is like that, and it looks like it's from Europe because it was already there before they built Broad Street to go that way through it.
That makes sense. That makes sense, especially since like humans are known to do that shit all the time. We'll build on top of older structures and say we did the whole fucking thing. Like even the pyramids are built on older sites. You know, there's ancient sites. I don't know if you've ever seen the Netflix series Ancient Apocalypse, but Graham Hancock goes around to all different sites around the world and finds out that they're built on older sites. You know, like even there's I can't remember the name of it. I think it's right around Mexico City. There's an ancient temple that the conquistadors built a church on top of the pyramid, right? And but the pyramid looks like it's just a hill, so it looks like a church on top of a hill, but it's actually just a pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty interesting, especially with Mormonism, especially their religion literally says that they found old stuff when they got here that was, the golden tablets and everything like that had to be translated in a totally different language and everything like that, all that kind of shit with them. And then for them to go, hey, we're going to go to one specific place, literally in the middle of fucking nowhere at that time when they were doing it. And then they built this huge temple. And then like you can see right there, it was clearly the top portion of it was at least altered and modernified or maybe cleaned up.
Oh yeah.
To fit to make it look newer and everything like that, because that's what we do. That's what the Sphinx had his face redone multiple times. The Great Pyramids used to be coated in limestone, right, and stuff like that, and then now they're not because they used most of it to build Cairo and all that crap.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like for that temple and many others all across the world to be newer things that are said that, hey, we built this right here. Well, then you look, you're like, well, you built it on somebody else's foundation.
Thank you. And that is the value. That's the value of this portion, because we're talking about the value of independence, both personal and music. And the reason why I see value in that little detour of the journey was to show who's watching this now that how independent we were in the past, how independent we were from the brainwashing, the mind control. Not to say they didn't have their own version of brainwashing back then.
Oh yeah.
But it was a different culture, free energy, free water, free this. You were free to create, right? So music, we know sound has power and properties of levitation, and it affects you all the way down to the DNA level. So now that we've put on the table with real life visual examples, everything from Bacon's Rebellion to the repurposing of ancient structures, let's repurpose the ancient structure of hip hop. Let's polish it off like you said they did the buildings on the surface. Let's know the foundation run deep. Let's put a new doorway in. Let's call it something else. Not necessarily call it something else, but like assign a new location to it, a new destination, right? Let's repurpose it. I'm not trying to convert nobody, but I'm saying we've seen how they repurpose the technology. When you get into the etymology of the word technology, it originally meant, or into grammar, it originally meant grammar. Technology was first referring to grammar. And what is hip hop? Catchy fucking grammar.
Yeah. It's
so our own technology has been hijacked. Time to take it back, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Where does that put your mind at? Technology, hip hop is technology, and that's why it's so important. Remember that what I asked you in the beginning? Why would they want to control it?
Because grammar it's so important.
Is the original technology.
Yeah, and that goes to what we've been talking about this whole time with, social media making you self-censor and then controlling what you say and everything like that as well too. Because that is, did you plan this whole motherfucking thing? Jesus Christ, you made it full circle. Because you like that's
They know that's what I do here.
because no, that's literally what we've been doing this whole time. Is we've been talking about how it. Jesus, dude.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the that you recognized it.
Yeah, no, I can see it. Like now I'm like sitting here just like going backwards throughout the whole conversation and picking all these pieces to putting them all together and everything like that in my head. Because yeah, that is absolutely true, man. Because hip hop is words. Words are power. And if you can control the words, you have the power. And so yeah, that's absolutely true. And one thing about the sound waves too is, they do studies with plants and different music. You know what I'm saying? And how plants will grow differently to different music because of the vibrational waves and stuff like that. But then also, a few years ago, I got into meditation because I was battling bad anxiety and stuff. So I was trying different things.
Mhm.
And I fell upon meditation and I started listening to binaural beats while I was meditating.
Okay.
And I would sit in front of my surround sound system, like my
Right.
little one for my TV. And I would sit there and I'll close my eyes and I'll turn it on and it would just be like, whoa, 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 you know what I'm saying? And you could feel it rolling through you. And then it would change pitches after so long and stuff like that as well too. And yeah, the vibrations have so much power for them as well too, to open and connect different parts of your mind. And so not only do the words in the music have the power, but also the frequency of the music have power as well too. Just like how there is a DNA to songwriting that people like Drake and stuff do. They use a specific amount of syllables on a specific tempo with specific sounds in order to get it to put you into a trance-like state. And so that is the weaponization that you were talking about with all of it, that actually it puts you into that trance. And now anything they inject into that, you're highly suggestible. Just like how they say, if once your resting heart rate is above 100 beats per minute, you can no longer think rationally. You know what I'm saying? So what people do in order to manipulate you as well, especially in politics and shit like that, is they get you upset and angry. Now you can't think rational, so now you're highly subjective to anything that they have to you. Because when you're cool, calm, and collected, you're exactly that. You're collected with your thoughts, you're collected with your actions, you're collected with what you say, and you'll sit there and you'll be like, wait, hold on a second. But when you're angry and somebody's like, hey, let's go over here, like, yeah, fuck it, let's go over here. You know what I'm saying? You just go, right? And so that's why they have to have control over the music. And that's why hip hop is the most manipulated, because it can reach the most amount of people. I say it all the time. Hip hop is a worldwide culture. Like if you look into it, everywhere around the planet bumps hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. All different languages, all different cultures, everything like that. And what's hip hop at its core, right? What are the 5 tenets of hip hop, right?
The hijacking of what the foundation was before it, like the buildings we just went over.
Right. Well, there's that, right? But like, people always forget about the 5th element of hip hop, right? They see the main 4, right? You can go and pull it up if you want to. The main 4 are MCing, graffiti art, breakdancing, and DJing, right? And so they forget about the 5th one. And the 5th one is the most powerful one. Because, you got the MCing, which is speaking those words into existence. You got the DJing, which is cutting and scratching and mixing, which is taking different things and putting them together. I like KRS-One's breakdown of these 4 elements, by the way, because he makes it into like a primal thing. but it's really, really cool. But anyway, cutting and mixing and scratching, putting everything together, right? And so
That's
you're
what you're talking
taking,
about here.
you're making something to nothing. Hold on a second, I gotta magnify this. Yeah, yeah. So you got MCing, DJing, and then you got breakdancing, you got graffiti art, and then you have the fifth one, knowledge,
Historical knowledge.
right? And not just historical knowledge, but just knowledge in general.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? That's the fifth one. A lot of people get left out of that. It's all talking about, oh yeah, the 4 elements of hip hop, MCing, you know, DJing, breaking, and graffiti art. But if you think about it, all that stuff's kind of been hijacked too, because MCing was about, like, what was the first MCing? Hi, my name is so and so. This is what I'm about, right? It's about your self-expression and you being able to say who you are, what you're about, and being able to speak truth to power and everything like that, right?
Right.
And then, you know, with, like I said, with the DJing, you're cutting, mixing, and scratching. You're taking all these different elements and you're putting it together to create something new and something greater, right? You're taking all the history, and you're taking it all together. You're putting all your knowledge in your head and you're putting something better, right? And then you got the breakdancing, which is the physical exertion and creating and doing things with your body to express yourself and to do different things. And then you have the graffiti art, which that is not only you being visually creative, but almost always it's to deface something else, to put your mark on something else, and to go against all rules. Rules say, do not do this. And you're like, fuck you. This is my name and I did it. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that too. And what is it about? It's all about expressing that knowledge, because all of those have to do with knowledge, and it all comes to that one big one.
So I know you saw the smile because because that was the added value of going down the road on this extracurricular knowledge to add to the value of independence, because it's knowledge that we covered in this that everybody don't know, first of all, to even think about, but it's that missing knowledge that actually is the glue that needs to bring us all back together to now unite in a transformative journey to go back to empowering the people and creating sustainable communities.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that you made that reference, and I can't say that I planned that one, but it was fucking perfect.
Right. No, that definitely did go with it, man. You know, KP says, facts, hell, it was reshaped by the sounds of jazzy, DM, country, pop, and metal. Yeah, exactly. And see, the thing is that with all the elements, it's like all the senses. Because you got the knowledge, which is the mental thing.
That's that one.
You got the MCing, which is speaking. You got the graffiti art, which is seeing. You got the DJing, which is, you know, the creativity and everything like that. And then you also have the breaking, which is where you have such high knowledge of your body and how to maneuver it. You know, people can do fucking stops in the middle of a spin, shit like that. It's all knowledge based.
There's a health element to that too.
What was that?
There's a health when you brought
the health,
body.
yeah.
And KP, I don't know what happened, but that last comment ain't showing on my thing here to show. But there's a health element available that your body has to be in a certain healthy state.
To be able
you
to do
have to
it.
have the knowledge to be taking care of your body, at least into a position to be able to do that. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
that's
like a school.
Yeah, exactly. That's a complete knowledge of your body, how to move it, how to keep it in the proper form, in the proper shape, in the proper fitness in order to be able to do it and stuff like that. Yeah, it definitely is. That's why I love hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And I released an EP at the beginning of the year. Technically, it was like 2 years ago, but we'll say it's the beginning of the year, called Hip Hop Revolution. Mm-hmm. And I actually have those elements in the graphic for it as well too, just because, like, you know, like that's what it's about. It's about bringing it back, you know. And I even said that in one of the tracks and everything like that too, you know. It's about bringing that back. It's about taking what other people have built, building on it, and making it new, and taking it in the way that I honestly think it was meant to take. You know, one thing I love about hip hop is that it was something great created from fucking nothing. I mean, most of the originators were homeless people. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, the first turntables were put together by some dude who's an out-of-work electrician. You know what I'm saying? And he was able to take a couple of turntables and fashion some shit together and make shit work. You know, and then they created something totally new. And then what they did too is they took old things. DJing was taking all these records and, you know, putting them together and scratching them and making whole new sounds, you know, and taking all these other things and putting it together and making something new.
So I know you think you. I know. I ain't gonna say I know you think you. I know you are hip hop, and I know what we uncovered what hip hop is on a high level overview, right? In various different silos, cause and effects, weaponization, all this stuff. And I mentioned new age. And I want to say the more I talk to you, the more I hear that you might be new age as well.
Maybe Google will change me too.
Hey, you know I got it, right? You know I got it for you, man.
Yeah, exactly, man. You put a word in for me, man.
Look,
but
here's the thing, right? So think about the building process. Now, hip hop brings you to a certain level of school, right? Like, let's say that's the middle school. Now, you was talking about meditation and stuff, right? So after you get are you familiar with have you ever read the declassified CIA documents on what they call the Gateway?
No. Okay. I know in the 60s and 70s they were doing a lot of research into all that kind of shit though.
Yeah, the lower levels of it is basically your meditation, your three different forms of meditation, all the way up to astral projection, and then this other thing where they get into. I did some videos on it on YNET 7, 3-part series. The last part was titled "Time is an Emotion," right? So check that out. At least the CIA document, if not the videos. But so now when you go through this progression and you get into your higher states of meditation, now look at what they define New Age is musically. It's a range of spiritual and religious practices and beliefs, right? Which it's right to give you some more detail. And it adheres typically see it as a spiritual or unifying mind, body, and spirit. Now it says that they rarely call themselves New Age. It's the New Age movement, although others suggest terms like whatever, how you say that, Milui, and then Zeitgeist. So think about what we've covered here today, right? We've covered the fact that the sound penetrates you, the words penetrate you, everything can be weaponized against you. It's controlling your mind. So once you start to look at the music as an artist, as a unifying mind, body, and spirit experience, beyond the state of what hip hop is focusing on, let me just rock the house. Not to say it's a bad thing, right? But when you see the power of what you're doing, the tool that's in front of you, and you take it to that next level, now you're writing differently with a purpose, right? Now you're on a different level. You sound different. Like I said earlier, that's why a hip hop artist made Tupac say, you know, he got the gun, right? Or we talk about the 10-year-old, they gave the 10-year-old the gun. And I'm like, I may have the same meaning in a song, but I'm saying I'm talking about a degree, because the degree is a contract with the United States corporation also, despite the economic ramifications we talked about earlier.
Right.
So you're killing yourself many different ways.
Yeah, especially the psychology, and that's the one that matters the most. Economics come and go, but your brain is something that you keep forever.
So now, have you watched the Zeitgeist movies?
No.
Okay, take that word in your free time, and there's at least two of them, and you'll see why I'm so excited about New Age being compared to Zeitgeist. I'd rather be compared to the Zeitgeist movement than to be compared to Jay-Z.
I think, yeah. Fuck, I'd rather be almost anything than compared to Jay-Z. But
I think the 500,000, Jay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so, I I think hip hop has always been new age.
Okay.
Because at its core, what I fell in love with about hip hop has always been all the shit that we talked about, the shit that you just said right there.
Right.
At its core, hip hop has always. I put it very, very simply. I love hip hop because at its core, what hip hop represents is, fuck you, I'm gonna do what I want to. Fuck you, you can't tell me what to do. I'm gonna say what I want. I'm gonna do what I want. I'm gonna live the life that I want to, and fuck you, what you think about it. Right? And
I
so
like it.
that's a very simple way to think about it, but that's really what it is. It's the new age. It's coming. Coming to grips with myself. It's me finding myself and then expressing myself. You know, it's all of that. And you know, hip hop has always. If you look through the last 50 years, hip hop started out new age, and then had some downfalls where it went mainstream pop, and then it came up with a new age mindset again, right? And then it had some downfalls, and then it keeps coming up. It keeps going like that. At its core, it still stays the same because it's still trending and gaining popularity with that mindset. But it keeps having times like right now where there's all the dumb shit on the mainstream, right? But people aren't really vibing with that much anymore. They're going for the real again. More and more people.
I think there's always been a distinction, right? And I think
Yeah,
that's healthy.
That's why I said there's a difference between hip hop and rap. What's on the main stage is mainly rap. The real raw shit with actual lyrics, actual lyrical content, that's hip hop.
Well, we know rap is. I don't even think rap. We know what rap is, right?
Right.
We know what rap is. That's straight commercial. That's straight. I'm selling a product. Hip hop is. That's why I call it a rapper. You're wrapping up, putting the brand. You know, hip hop was more about. Even in today's version, it's more about, like you said, finding myself, right? And if I'm going to translate into the computer code Pasha version, I think you did a great job explaining it. Hip hop is because there's levels to everything, right? So hip hop is the finding myself. Matter of fact, let's do it in series. Rap is the bottom of the barrel, commercialization, low vibration. Everything is about competition, spending dollars, very little energy effort put into anything beyond that, right? Sexual.
It's all about how you look, not about who you are.
Right. Hip hop is that now you are finding yourself, as you said, right? You're growing into finding yourself. You're in that next level. Now, once you find and master yourself, now the next level is new age, where we find ourselves, plural. Because, like, when you look at my Facebook page, right? It's Pablo Nakota Wu Dead. Okay, that's
great. No, you just changed your name on me. I had like, well, hold on a second.
Nah, that's always been that way. It's Pasha Pablo for the music, and then my personal me page is Pablo Nakota Wu Dead. So Pablo Nakota Wu Dead, that's where Pasha Pablo comes from. I'll break it down real quick. Pablo Nakota Wu Dead is great house, distinguished, restored. So your great houses could be your heart. You got to start there, your mind, your body, right? Then you can go to your household. Then you can go to your community, your city, your state, and then eventually we make it to the nation. They're all great houses on different scales. Now, Pasha is high-ranking general or political figure derived from the Ottoman Empire. And if you go over a little bit further east to the Buddhism area and everything, it was a snatcher of souls, right? Yeah.
That wasn't a little bit different.
Hey, same thing though, because think about it, when you change someone emotionally, someone's possessed by a certain spirit. Like when you said, "Hey, I said this to you earlier," and it was like, "Yo, you fucking changed my." It's because you were possessed by this entity. I snatched that soul out of you and replaced it, or allowed the you to take the fullness of yourself, and now you are refreshed and renewed.
Right.
So I'm a soul snatcher. Right. Pasha Pablo, General Great House. Why? Because we're making America great again, long before Trump came up with a slogan.
and before Reagan, because Reagan came up with it. What had it?
Well, first. Maybe not before Reagan, no.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, but like Trump stole it from Reagan and rebranded it. But yeah, I get what you're trying to say. So we're not going to the technicals. I get what you're saying.
So now, right, the new age is once we begin to unify we all found ourselves, or at least the critical mass is finding themselves. Now we reach the new age level where we unify mind, body, and soul to form Voltron.
Right. No, that's
Right?
definitely true, man.
Okay. So I think you gave it a great value, and this part was pre-planned to showcase that it's an evolutional process, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I laughed it off earlier, because the pyramid, right? Not that it's the rock in it, right? But the pyramid is always the smaller at the top.
Right.
So when I laughed about there only being 10,000 members in the audience, it's because there's always fewer number at the top. But it's our goal not to say, I happened to test in the top 5% my whole life, and most recently top 2%. I was the dude that lived next door to you, blew L's with you after school, but they was coming to get me on the fucking short bus, and I was going to the advanced gifted programs at a whole nother school 3 days this week, 2 days next week, studying Greek mythology and analogies in 3rd grade.
Damn.
So I got 3 top 10 event finishes in National Science Olympiad competition. But we were running the streets together after school.
Jeez.
You see what I'm saying? Playing on the same football team. Chilling.
Right. Yeah, just chilling, whatever. Yeah.
Right. So I've always been that outcast. So by the time you get to winning court cases and your family turning their back on you and the judge telling you, hey, I wish more Americans come in here and do this at the end, that's what motivated me.
Right.
It was like, fuck everybody that turned their back on me. The fucking judge that was that mindset, you're talking racism and all this shit. You're looking at a European judge, I'm me. And at the end of that whole, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. The ones that everybody told me was the enemy is the one telling me he wished more Americans would come here and do this. And all the people that were supposed to be with me then turn it back. You know what? That's fucking compelling. I'm going to stay on this grind and be this, who I am.
Yeah, because now you're like going.
You said, fuck you, I'm doing what I want. But now we're going to collectively come together and say in unison, in harmony, Bone Thugs, fuck you, I'm going to miss everybody. I'm going to miss everybody.
Exactly.
U.S. I'm going back to America, right?
Right, exactly, man. Because, what's that saying? Like, you feel the most resistance when you're going against the grain. When you're over the target when you're catching the flack. So, like with you, when everybody, except for the very few, like everybody that you thought was on your side, it was ended up against you, and who you were told by all of them was against you is actually on your side, and that's the very few. I almost said minority and triggered you, but that's the very few. And you're just like, well, maybe I should do what most people say I shouldn't. If I feel in myself that that's what I should do. That's where I think a lot of people go the wrong way, even in music, is they feel what they should do internally from the connection with the universe, God, everything like that. But society as a whole is telling them they should do something different. And myself, yourself, KP, my co-host, we all know that. You know what I'm saying? I know you can't see KP, but he's a black dude who grew up in Detroit, who's been in love with metal, like heavy fucking metal his whole fucking life. Dude's got a fucking mohawk. He's got a septum pierce and shit, right?
Right.
But where he grew up in Detroit, no, like you don't do that. You're the fucking outcast of outcasts. You know what I'm saying? Me, grew up in a mainly white area. I'm over here rocking hip hop, and I'm like the outcast of the outcasts because everybody else is on all the other shit, country and pop and all that shit. With us? Possible. And
I can send him a link. I think I can send him a link and he can hop on.
Yeah, I mean, if he wants to, go for it. He's in Seattle right now, so it's 3 hours prior to this. So it's still yesterday over there, not today. And but yeah, I mean, like, and with you, with all your stuff as well too, like, our internal engine was telling us we need to go this way. And yeah, he's still there. Our internal engine was saying we need to go this way. and all of society was saying, no, you need to go this way. But we actually, through trials and tribulations, I'm sure we didn't do it immediately. I know I didn't. I had my ups and downs to finally get to where I'm at, to where I feel like, even though everybody looks at me like, that motherfucker's weird as shit, I say, I don't give a fuck. I'm being me. This is
Hold on a
me.
second.
I'm
Hold
living
on.
my
AP,
life.
drop your email in the chat. Excuse me. Go
You
ahead.
know, and I think
We'll
we all do that, and more people need to do that. You know, more people just need to be who they want to be. And I think, you know, you want to talk about manipulation and stuff like that. Our society is going through a form of manipulation right now that is similar, where they're hijacking that internal need for people to express themselves or originally and be who they want to be. Well, that's being hijacked, and they'd be like, yeah, you can be who you want to be. You should be this though. You know what I'm saying? So they're still guiding them, but then they're making them feel like they're being original, but they're keeping it within parameters. Because if you go outside of those parameters, well, now you're even outside of the outside of the outside. You know what I'm saying? It's all a manipulative game. And there's a ton of tools, man. Like when they say it's chess, not checkers, it's because each chess piece has a different role and has different parameters that it can use on the chessboard. And the overall goal of the chessboard has many different plans within it as well, too. You know, you get a pawn to the other side, you get a queen back. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that. I'm listening but working on a project at the same time. Okay, sir. You know, I want to hop in, KP, because he does sync licensing stuff. So he works on like projects to make for sync licensing and stuff as well too. Yeah. And he's been working on other things with our podcast, with the trying to get to marketing and stuff like that as well too. So yeah, if you want to hop in, KP, hop in. If not, it's all good, man.
Yeah, like I said, if you want to, just drop your email in the chat. I'll send it to you. But what, you know, that brings me back to what you were saying earlier about 50 Cent, and when you were talking about, you know, be friends or enemy. My saying always was, because I wrote these notes down when you were talking, I was like, oh yeah, you said something that made me think about, oh yeah, I didn't get back to that. So my phrase always was, and I used to tell people this: everybody works for me as long as they do them. See, my goal is to find out who you really are. Because, you know, we got the fake people that's going to give you their little representatives and shit. That's why I come the way I come. I come like, look, this is who I am. I'll tell you up front. It'd be a long story too. Like, look, and this is why I do, and I'm American and not a United States citizen. Why? Because I want you to know up front. Because I don't want you 6 months down the road, someone come to you and say, hey, well, you know, Pashas don't, you know, he said he's not a United States citizen. You're like, no, I didn't know. No, you fucking know it, and you know the value it adds, you know why, and you're going to be able to tell them, and then you know where they're at compared to where we at. Because if you rocking with me, we're trying to get somewhere, and apparently they not. Right? Absolutely. So my goal is to find out who you are. You know what I mean? And then, like I said, not convert you. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't say, hey, hip hop, you need to become new age. I said, no, it's a growing stage. We all start off as rap. We run around here. You trying to smash everything. You going to the mall. You trying to do this. You going to all the clubs. Then you grow up a little bit. You're like, oh, wait a minute. I got to find myself. Now that's the hip hop era. And then you get into the
I got to take care of my responsibilities. I got to make sure I try to raise the next generation, probably all that kind of stuff. Yep. Absolutely.
So it's not a convert you. It's a, hey, we're growing through different levels together. And once we get here, we realize, hey, we're independent artists, but guess what? We're sitting ducks by ourselves. Oh, and guess what? We can't all come together as artists if the fans don't come with us and support what we're trying to do and push towards. So we need them to come together too.
That's the biggest part, because if not, you're just sitting there talking to yourself.
Cha-ching! I really enjoy playing this game. So. And that's on both sides.
We're talking about master manipulator over here. Fuck.
Hey, master builders, man. We're master builders.
Exactly.
Right. So this is hella fun, and it's hella value for the community.
Absolutely.
Right? All right. Because my disappointment is, I'll tell you what my biggest, and then I want to hear what your biggest disappointment is.
Okay.
You know, when we talk about, we laughing about it because we understand each other. We comprehend. And a lot of people in our circles can relate to this shit because they had the same problems with 98% of the society as well, right? When I go into fucking corporate America, they go, oh, hey, You're a green belt. You specialize in enterprise change. The last project you worked on for 3M realized $750,000. You led, not just worked on, but led the project. Realized $750,000 of increased annual sales potential with just $80,000 investment. We come home, try to take that to the community, and they're too busy, saying, "Oh, Mark Harkos is this, Pasha's that, KP is this." Why should we listen to you? Like you said, that guy was telling you, why should I listen to you? I've seen this done a million ways. But the word proud, right? We're victims of the humble culture. I've been saying this a lot this week. I'll just remind it. The word humble, it's a campaign. We're talking about weaponization of words and music, right? The technology, the grammar. So the word humble means not proud. And that would be great, right? Like, who was it? Was it Kendrick? No.
You got the track Humble?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So humble, everybody's rocking that. It's this powerful movement. Be humble. Well, humble means not proud, which would be great if proud was a bad thing. But many people confuse pride, the word pride, with the word proud, because proud, actually, the etymology is noble, excellent, and splendid. Mm-hmm. So now by having the Be Humble campaign running ravage, wrecking shop through the nation, you're demonizing, you're outcasting all of your communities, noble, excellent, splendid people, persons, places, and things. And then we wake up one day saying, why don't we have nothing in our communities to be proud of?
Because you're not proud of yourself first.
No, it's because you be humble.
That's true.
The word magically took over and you manifested an environment that now you're humbled by. There's nothing to be proud of there.
Yeah. That makes sense.
This goes back to the knowledge that you're talking about, the fifth element. Bada bing, bada boom.
Multitask. Yeah, exactly. That's where I was getting ready to go too, man. Is that the fifth element in the movie, The Fifth Element? It was that lost thing that nobody had, but once they got it, it could literally defeat the evil that was coming to destroy everything. Right.
So the disappointment is that if I go, and I'm not saying every corporate company is out to destroy the people completely, right? But most of them kind of are.
Right,
but
right.
If I go take these intangibles to them, they're going to pay you for it. If we go join the Illuminati, you're going to be rocking Ferraris and mansions, right?
Dude, I get
but
like,
if you try to come home and save the people, right? If you try to come home and build the people up, like you said, you get shitted on. Mm-hmm. So tell me about your biggest disappointments relative to the hip hop culture, community, high level overlay, blending together type shit.
I would say my biggest disappointment is what happens when people reach the level of success that they wanted to have. Because I've seen many different artists who their music, either before they get signed to a major label or even up to like their freshman album on the label, is so energetic and so filled with all the passion and the hunger and everything like that. And when they're doing that, they're at a level in their life where they're facing all these trials and tribulations, and it expresses itself in the music with great emotion and content. Resonance, yeah, exactly. And when they get to a certain level, they've gotten so much fame and so much fortune that they're no longer in the situation they were in, which is a positive thing, right? Because they've grown out of a bad situation. However, they've grown so far out of a situation that they're in their own situation. They're isolated. And now they can't relate to anyone or anything except for the other people who are in an isolated state as well. But none of them know who they are, who they want to be, or what reality even is.
Man, you said a lot there.
And that's what disappoints me the most, because there's been multiple artists over the years whenever I was a consumer of music, which like you touched on earlier, not really a consumer of music anymore. But when I was a consumer of music, that's what I noticed. Their first album, maybe even their first and second album, raw as shit. Then their third and their fourth. After that, you kind of forget what the fuck they're doing because they don't even know what they're doing. They're just in the routine now. They're stuck. They're more of a slave to the system than they ever were because now they have the lifestyle that they got to keep up and the image that they got to keep up and the contractual obligations they got to keep up and everything like that. And now they're more trapped than they thought that they were when they were thinking they were trapped in poverty.
I want to. So it's fucking amazing pictures there, and it reminds me of the Drake song, and I'll get to that in a moment because I always laugh at that. Like I think the Drake song is so stupid, right? Again, once you apply the knowledge to it, you realize the manipulation factor and how you're setting yourself up to be humble, like we were just talking about.
Right.
And let's break those chains real quick.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody knows Drake doesn't write his own music.
No, not that part. I mean, that's funny too, right? But a lot of people don't really, and that's also another thing. Matter of fact, that's another thing because I had to look at it like, how do you call yourself the artist if there's 27 people involved in producing the product? That's part of why I had to slowly over time.
It's a collaborative.
Like KP was saying, you learn a little bit like this. Learn like we were talking about here. What did he say earlier? Watching which teaches drums, guitar, pianos, vocals. Like you take your time, do that, and do it by yourself because in the future you're going to be more original in your design versus you don't want to go in the studio and tell someone what you're thinking and then they take it and now that's the new industry thing with the people that are paying $5 million to make a song and you only got one song out. So you get to work on it yourself over time, develop it without the risk of someone knowing all the mechanics behind it, right? But learning to do it yourself. But the point I wanted to make is 2 points here. And I want you to keep going with this because this is great. What the closer you get to where you see yourself going, the more the people around you become what you expect. And that's a gift and a curse of what you were talking about with that perceived success, right? Because they saw themselves going somewhere. And now what happens is you didn't choose the people you were born next door to.
No.
You got different ideas of where you want to go in life. And the closer you get to individually seeing where you are seeing yourself going, the more the people around you now become what you expect. Now, combine that with the danger we're just talking about, be humble. Now people are all like, hey, let's be humble. We're gonna go, we're seeing ourselves going to humble. And now you got a whole zombie of US citizens to be humble, be humble, humble. And then now all of our proud businesses over in China, right? There's no jobs here no more. Right. Things used to say proudly made in America. Now it say humbly made in the US. Right. So we got to come together. Here we go and decide and define a destination so we can all agree to get there. And this is what brings me to the Drake song. I just want to be successful. I want to slap. I mean, I'm not violent. I'm non-violent, but I want to slap the fuck out of Drake every time that song come on. But here's why. Not on the hater shit, but on the knowledge side. Because think about when that song come on, so many people are depressed, right? Because they're like, damn, I just want to be successful. Here's the dumb shit. Here's the weaponization. How would you define in a sentence or a phrase or, short thing? And I'm going to give it right back to you after you say this. I just need to tell you and I'll give it right back. How would you define the word success? What is success?
For me, success is living a life where I can do as I wish with asking permission from as little people as possible.
Okay. The etymology of the word success. Thank you for sharing that, by the way, because that represents tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people's views as well.
Mm.
The etymology of the word success. I'm going to tell you to mind fuck with this shit, right? The etymology of the word success is result. Success means result. So that means that no matter what you do, you're fucking successful.
Because it's resulted in
It's the result. The question is it the result that you wanted or not?
Mm.
So now the manipulation of the
part.
fucking song is I just want to be successful, puts everybody in a reduced state, a humble state of not proud, the attack, the weaponization. Now you're depressed because no matter how good you're fucking doing in life, you feel like you're not doing good enough because your version of success is beyond where you're at today.
And that keeps moving. Your goalposts keep moving the further you go down the field.
So you were feeling good 5 minutes ago. The song comes on. Now you're like, I just want to be successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody zombied out. Now reducing themselves, praying for now a humble environment. Now all the businesses are over in China.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and see, that's the thing is that. Excuse me, sorry. That's the thing is that.
Yeah, we putting this work in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, is that a lot of people think that they know what they want, but then they run into, dude, your fucking music selection on this thing is awesome. I like it.
No, it's AI totally.
For real?
I mean, I had nothing to do with that. It's like a built-in playlist of hip hop.
Oh no shit! Because like I
only take credit for when I do something.
Oh, okay. Because it keeps turning, and I'm like, oh, that's nice right there. But yeah, people have the idea that they know what success is, and I even fall into it too, right? But then that goalpost keeps moving, you know. So a lot of people, the reason that I say success to me means a certain way of living, as opposed to certain milestones where it's like, you know, like if I would have said, you know, I want to be 100% self-employed.
Okay.
I want to not have any debt. I want to pay off my mortgage and only deal with cash transactions instead of ever having to deal with loans and shit like that anymore. Or, you know, some people, it's like, I never want to have to work a day again in my life. I want to just go to the beach all day, or I want to go do this or that or whatever, you know. Those type of things, history has shown time and time again with all kinds of people. It's been shown every day that with a lot of people, when they reach that level, they realize that what they were looking for wasn't there. It was hiding within them, and they had to try to get that out. But now they have gotten themselves to such a point where they can't even get to that anymore. You know, and a lot of the ones that I think about whenever I think about people who have gotten to that point are all the people who overdose on drugs in the music industry. You know, like for instance, Shannon Hoon, the lead singer of Blind Melon, right? He's got a song, he got multiple different songs where he's talking about exactly that. I thought this is where I wanted to be, but now I realize this ain't me. Right. You know? And he's like, you got a song, this ain't me, you know, like it. A lot of people like that, and then he ended up dying of a heroin overdose. You know, Lane Staley, the lead singer of Alice in Chains, wildly successful, completely unique voice, very creative. All of his music, I'm down in a hole and I don't know if I can be free. You know what I'm saying? Like shit like that. He's sitting there saying that like they're trapped inside themselves. And when they're trying to get that success, they're like, man, if I could just make it, then I could be free. And that they're not. And so then they end up trying to fix it with other things. And then they end up drowning themselves and killing themselves. And it's fucked up. Or they end up killing themselves intentionally.
you this is so amazing. So what that going back real quick, the success portion now, the depression factor, you've heard this said other ways in 1,000 different other sources. It creates the fear to prevent people from trying because they're afraid of failure, not realizing that the failure is a success, right?
And that ties into a fucking therapy session conversation me and KP had last night, where I'm sitting here talking about these moves I'm trying to make, and he's like, "Hey man, I got your back. Don't be afraid. You need to take this step, and you need to get this done."
Great KP. Now look, the biggest drug is also currency. You can never have enough, and it's addicted. Now, when you're talking about those songs like the one "Down in the Hole" and "I Can't Get Out" and all this shit, like I said with the Drake song, very similar effect on the listener, right? Brainwashing. We're transducers. Now we manifest that reality, and then we're like, "Yo, that song hits me so hard. It's real because you just fucking listened to it 1,000 times, and now you done prayed for it 1,000 times, and now the reality is matching your experience, right?"
Right.
Here's the thing. But here's what we do to ourselves. Now the artist comes out talking about, "I'm shining," you know what I mean? Bentley this, 24-inch rim, 32s on the truck, whatever it is. And now we like, we don't want to hear that shit. We motherfucker talk about money all the time. We don't want that shit,
Exactly. Because
so which one is it? Do we want to be down in the hole, or do we want to focus on the other end of the spectrum?
But see, that's the thing, is that people don't focus on the real lifestyle in the form of the freedom for it. They focus on the materialistic aspects of it, and they think that people will then view them in higher regard because they've achieved this level of materialistic success.
I think the reality with that is certain people will.
Yeah, and they rely on other people to validate them. And if they rely on other people to give them their value.
For some people, I think that's true. For some people, I think that's false, right? Because we got to deal with the infinity, the yin and the yang, right? Remember what the golden rule is: anytime you point that finger, Spider-Man, there's three pointing back, right? So, for example, like I remember,
Spider-Man shit kills me.
So before the fucking $12,000 engine issue, right? I had a nice little E350 coupe, and I had a convertible Mercedes prior to that. But when people see you in a Mercedes, some people are like, "Oh, you think he?" No, I'm not. That's not at all. Like, fuck the badge on this shit. Like I said, I grew up racing.
Right.
To the store from the police, right? You know what I mean? So
that Mercedes got an engine in it, man.
They win in F1 races. So if you watching F1 races, they were winning consecutively. I'm in it because I'm like the performance. It could have said, you're buying Dodge Hellcats. That's straight line power.
Yeah.
So you gotta think this shit through. This is why y'all in the parking lot with your Hellcat Scat Pack doing donuts, because you can't do nothing but either donut out or go in a straight line.
Right.
The European cars are built for the Autobahn, the Italian twist and turn roads and the mountains and shit, right? So if you want performance where you need to whip like you on the fucking Autobahn, then get something German. Okay? It's not about it being a Mercedes. Fuck the leather. You can get leather in an Astrovan if they still make those.
I don't know if they still make it, but you can get leather in that shit one way or another, man.
You see what I'm saying? So people, they call it projection.
That's actually what I learned to drive. It was an Astrovan.
I ain't gonna say I pulled that out of your psyche, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But look, right? So people are projecting issues all the time. So as an artist, because I know this is Music Making Sense podcast, and like you said, fuck you, do you? Because whether you make this type of music or you make that type of music, it's gonna be someone telling you it's trash. It's gonna be someone telling you it's the greatest shit ever. The question is, how do you feel about it?
Fuck you, do you? Instead of FUBU, it's Fudu. That's nice.
Let's side it up. Fudu.
Yeah. So instead of for us, by us, it's fuck you, do you?
Fuck you,
like
do
that.
you?
That's dope. put that on a fucking shirt, KP. I know he's still probably listening, laughing his ass off.
Let's get
But
it. Hey, see where we can get the sync license for that shit. Let's go.
yeah, there we go.
We'll build a
Exactly.
track. Me and Harkos right now.
Yeah, done deal.
So that's the power of all this. So when we
Mhm.
come back full circle again, it's why do they want to control it so much? Why do they want to control you? Because grammar is a technology. But once we decide and do look aside or agree on a destination, now we can all in our own creative talents. Nobody's got to say do it this way, do it that way. But once we know, okay, bet the goal is to meet here, rendezvous here. How do I do me so that we are here? And now everybody uniquely, innovatively, creatively does who they are, but they're doing it. Now we know we want to get here. So they have all these different trajectories that's going to put us in this position in the future.
Absolutely.
And that is why I look at myself as a transformative leader. And I'm asking for more transformative leaders to join me instead of a transactional leader. Because the transactional leadership of the past is what's run everything into the ground. All they're going to keep doing is doing the same thing. That's why you hear them, well, this is what worked 10 years ago. Diddy, this was the music that was hot before. We're going to sample this, right?
Yeah.
No, we need to say, this is where we're going to go. Now, what do we need to do to get us there?
Mhm.
Totally changes the production then. How do you speak on that for me from a true hip hop standpoint?
Well, from a true hip hop point, that's what hip hop is. It's always been transformative, not transactional. There's been the top level portion or whatever, that has been transactional, when the money started getting in there, and then you see like the big acts that pop up out of there only for the money and stuff like that, But it's always been transformative. It's get up, stand up, what I'm saying? Like all that stuff has always been in music, and especially in hip hop and stuff like that. But what I try to do with people is to be transformative, and once I started realizing that I could be a source to help people be transformative, I had to learn how to aim that, because at first I was trying to get people to be transformative in a political fashion, anti-government control.
Why are you separating it?
You see what I'm saying? But the reason I'm separating it is because I can be more transformative at the level I'm at now. Because I'm coming into people when they want to change, as opposed to trying to convert people when they're not quite ready.
Okay. So now to help iron sharpen iron here. You don't have to convert them. Remember the trick to not having to convert someone is to just assign the destination. See what it is. Here's the difference. I did a video
that's
called,
what I do now too. Yeah.
Right. I did a video called Big D versus Little D. Pause.
That's
The big D is destination.
Right.
The little D is direction. See, what the problem is, everybody wants direction. And the reason they want direction is because then they can blame you when something go wrong because you gave them directions. When you don't give directions and you just tell them, meet me here, they're free to go about it their own way to get there. And that's where creativity and innovation occurs.
Right.
Great companies hire great people and leave them the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How do you feel when your boss come over? No. Which is what the label's doing. No. Did you say no, take that out. No, that's wrong.
And what those companies sometimes realize, most of the times don't, is that if obviously have some oversight, but if you let those good people go, it may waver a little bit out of the line that you wanted them to go, out of the directions you wanted, but the end goal, you reach that. You have a business and you wanted to get down the road to the specific destination. Well, you plot a path, but then you hire somebody else who has all the characteristics that you want, creativity and self-motivation and everything like that, and you put them into place. You're like, all right, now follow this. Well, a highly creative, self-motivated person is also not a person who can follow directions to a T. Hence the reason why I only did one term in the military. I said, I'm out. Right? Because I don't do well with that. I thought I could. And as a young child, I could. But then as I started learning the world, I realized that's not me. And I realized that I've always been a little different. You know what I'm saying? But like, you know, a good company will be like, hey, I'm going to put this type of person in here because I've seen when these type of people are giving a destination, they will take it down the direction, not the one that we planned, but down their own. But we will reach the destination far better and faster than if we were sitting here trying to force people who either don't fit that personality trait to fit into here and then just follow the path that we lied. Because there's always those people who are just the company people, right? They just do what they're told, and it eventually might get to the destination. But that's a long road. You know what I'm saying? But you hire somebody like a me or whatever, right? And you say, hey, I got this business. I want it to get to this. Let me put you in here. Here's some ideas I have. What do you think about these ideas? Okay, now we're gonna pick this apart and let's get down the road. And I say, hey, you know what? Let me take control of this. I'll keep you in the loop, but let me take control of this real quick. And all of a sudden, I'm implementing different things, changing different things, and doing things a different way. And now all of a sudden, you're like, hold on, my cost just went down, my profitability just went up all at the same time without one doing the other. You know what I'm saying? Because like a lot of times if you take costs down, your profitability goes up. But if your profitability goes up and your costs go down and they're both independent factors, they're not dependent factors, then that's you're like, what's that?
That's optimization.
Exactly. That's optimization. And so you're like, holy shit, this motherfucker right here, even though I disagree with what he was doing at first, I'm like, hold on. The end result I like. Mm-hmm. Hold on, wait. I my company's doing better now. Okay, let me continue taking more of his advice.
Now let me play devil's advocate for you for a moment.
What?
I said I'm gonna play devil's advocate with you for a moment.
All right, Satan, let's go.
So from a leadership standpoint, right? Remember that guy you were talking about earlier that said, "Hey, I seen that done a million times. It's not gonna work."
Or that's never been done, but yeah.
Okay. The question I would have followed up with immediately after that, again, before you put any self-doubt in yourself or projections against them, that's when the question comes in, well, where are you trying to get to? Because think about the gatekeepers. They're going to tell you, no, you need to be like this so I can get you here, because all they know is that route, right? I did a logo design and a brand strategy for a podcast called Just Stand Directional. Okay, their tagline is your own route, right? So they only know that one route. Let's say this gatekeeper. So if you go to them and they're saying no, you need to be like this, be like that, but look at all the information we done covered in the last 3 hours and 33 minutes. Right?
Long ass podcast. Right. Joe Rogan ain't shit.
Hey, 333. And if we get 10 more seconds, it'll be 33. Right?
Right.
It's magical. But anyway, so if you know that you're trying to go somewhere else.
And now. All right. There we go. We were all three.
Right.
Anyway.
Right. Perfect. So, right at the right moment. If you know you're trying to go somewhere else, then you're technically not wrong. Not saying say it the way he said it, but if you telling them, look, that's not going to be for me.
Right.
But they're telling you, no, I know this will work. Now they walk away saying you don't know what you're talking about. You walk away saying they didn't know what they talking about, when all we had to do was say, well, where are you trying to get to? Because now here go back to why I read it like this. If we don't try to convert them and we find out, well, who are you? Oh, well, you know what? Damn. You're not trying to be that. You're not trying to necessarily go after 1 million fans and be
Mhm.
this super megastar. You have a very specific niche. You know what I mean? You want to talk about sword rap, and that's cool. But there's this steampunk world out there that might really catch on to that, and you're gonna have about, when I've done the market strategy and looked at it, you're gonna have about 500 to 750,000 audience, which is perfect to maintain and get you out of fucking corporate America volunteer slavery.
Mhm.
So hey, you
Yeah,
know
or
what? I wouldn't have thought about it. You didn't say it like that in the beginning either, but you know what? We can now
right.
make this work because we've agreed on the fucking destination.
Exactly. Or even, I mean, shit, even just between 10 and 40,000 solid fans.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
you what I'm
saying? Yeah.
saying.
Yeah. I get exactly what you're saying. Yeah. A lot of people that they can't see the forest for the trees type of shit.
Yeah.
They can't, and it's just when people I'm getting better at this, but I'm like this as well too. When people have their mind made up, it's hard for them to even acknowledge something that they've pointed out to themselves.
It's hard, not impossible.
Right. That's
like
impossible. I'm not hard. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you said hard. You said hard. I said it's hard, but not impossible. Like, I'm agreeing with
Correct.
you.
Yeah.
And what came to my mind was those stupid gun advocates, right? That are trying to take away Second Amendment and shit. And they're like, we don't need guns. And then, why you gotta? Well, you're saying all that shit now until someone kick your door in at 4 a.m. and you got a family of 4 you're trying to protect.
Exactly.
See, then they realize, oh shit, you know what? I think I'm glad I had this gun.
Mhm.
Well, then shut the fuck up the other 364 days out of the year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, it's because they have ignorance, and sometimes it's willful ignorance. They don't know any better. They know what they've been told and what they've been conditioned to know, what they've been programmed to know.
So that's your magical world, bro.
Mhm.
That's why we are who we are, because that's our value. That is our separate. That is our excitement. That's our electrification. Like, when you see someone that's ignorant, you should light up. I'm not saying you're going to make a bonsai tree overnight, but if you start the pruning or plant the seed today, someone comes along and waters it next week and sun shines on it for a little while, another pruning happens 2 years down the road. Now all of a sudden they snap. We be pissed the fuck off though, because what we want when we have knowledge and insight and wisdom and we're trying to share it with people we give a fuck about or care about, generally speaking, and they sit up there acting dumb, like we're trying to bear the fruit at that moment, but we're not always meant to be there to bear when the fruit is there. Sometimes we're just supposed to be there to plant the seed, bro. So plant the seed, let the other 2 years of watering and sunlight happen, and then they snap, or some celebrity comes on, like you said, 5-10 years later. Now it's popular and trending. They come back, or now China's bombing the U.S. right? And you're like, hey, they're calling you on the phone. Hey, Pasha, what was that you was talking about?
Yeah,
10 years ago when we were supposed to do what we supposed. Well, it's too fucking late now, but I'm glad that you get the message.
Yep. Yeah, me and you were talking about that in that pre-interview or whatever, that we both have had situations. You had one 7 years later. Somebody said, hey, what was that you were talking 7 years ago? You're like, well, you remember it for 7 years, but you never implemented any of it or never hit me up until now? Yeah, I was having the same situations once 2020 started popping off and stuff like that. People who used to say, oh, you're just a crazy conspiracy theorist. Oh, you don't trust anything. Oh, yada, yada, yada. They're all like, hey, what's going to happen next? What do you think is going to happen next? What should I do? And yeah, that kind of stuff. Like at first your ego gets on fire because you're like, yeah, I knew I was right. Yeah, fucking idiot. You know what I'm saying? But then you gotta sit there and you gotta think, no, let me be real with this shit. They didn't know.
Right? You say to yourself, I was there once.
Yeah.
Maybe we didn't spend as long there, but we were there once.
Right. I was there once. They didn't know what they didn't know.
Right.
Yeah, you were trying to tell them, but you were the only one out of everyone else in their life who was saying that one thing. And so base logic says, if one thing, 99.9% of everything is one way, but then 0.001% of things is another way, well, that can't be correct, because all the statistics in the world would say that the one thing in your life that is different from everything else could not possibly be the way.
That's why I always say, in order to be true, you can't be true unless you consider the infinity. Everything else is just emotional attachments to beliefs without complete knowledge of.
Absolutely.
So what we've done here, I think, is we've taken and we've bridged a lot of, not all of them, because again, it's infinity, right? But we've bridged a lot of individual nodal points. And we now displayed the spider web that may have been latent or hidden before, right?
Right.
Right? We done showed the one finger pointing and the three fingers pointing back.
Right.
We done showed the Spider-Man. So I think that's the knowledge. And the trick is, let's get the destination. Let's repurpose the machine. It's like those old school car guys. It's not a bad thing that you could say, as an illusion, we could say the music industry, the game, hip hop, rap is fucked up right now. But in reality, it's like that old school that's been sitting outside. It's a 76. It's been out in the backyard of someone's house in Kentucky for, the last 15 years with the roof halfway open, the window cracked, 3 flat tires, right?
Right.
So you got to take it. You take it to the chop shop, do your thing, customize it up, clean it up, whatever. Maybe you're going to restore it, make it whole. And the whole goal is for at the end of that candy paint that you don't have a Christine on your hands that's trying to kill you. Remember the movie Christine?
No.
Oh man, that was like the devil.
You lost me when you have Christine. I was like, okay, maybe he's gonna tell me.
Yeah, so Christine was that movie back in the day where the car like put itself together. You could say it was possessed, but it was like the car would kill people, bro. Like you were the owner, like somebody fuck with you, the car would go like while you were asleep and like run people down and shit.
That sounds crazy as shit.
Before Knight Rider, way before Knight Rider.
Right.
But yeah, it was like an old school Chevelle or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point of the matter is, we don't want to make something that's actually designed to. Look, we telling our age, right? We old, man. Yeah, man. This is back. Back when Gremlins and stuff. This was coming right after Gremlins, right? Shit. But we don't want to create something that's gonna be killing us.
Right.
Like as good as the car looked. Now it didn't really go after the owner until the owner was trying to get rid of it. But after they repatched that relationship, they were good. It was just killing everybody else. But we don't want to make something that's gonna kill us.
No.
Which is what we've been doing because we didn't have the knowledge of why they wanted to own it so bad and control it.
Well, it's because short-sighted motherfuckers can only see so far, and so when they get in positions where they're running shit, it's all short-sighted shit. That's it.
Is short-sight a bad thing? Is it unnatural?
It's not unnatural.
We talking about cars recently.
Mm-hmm.
The saying, going down the highway across country in the dark, you can only see as far as the headlights, right?
Right, exactly.
But the destinations on the GPS.
Yeah, but see, with the GPS, you have the foresight, but you're short-sighted in your path down the road. I'm talking about short-sighted motherfuckers that only see the check to check, the week to week. That's it, the day to day. Like that's it. They don't see anything above and beyond any of that.
Well, even that it's not bad because it's the reality, right? Mm. The thing is, if you make the next step, okay, put it like this. In a staircase, if you're only focusing on the next step, you're making the next step the goal. So now what happens is every time you get to that next step, you're like, oh fuck, I made it. Yeah, cool. Okay, what do I do now? Oh, the next step. But if you knew from the beginning, I'm going to the top of the staircase.
I got
Or maybe it's a
steps.
building and you're only gonna go to the 4th floor of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now you know, okay, check. Right? You have a purpose instilled. So even then, the short-sightedness isn't the problem. It's the fact that they haven't assigned a destination. The secret is always going to be once we agree on a destination, it makes it easier to overcome all obstacles. Just like riding in the nighttime. You coming down the road, it's a pothole. What do? You don't stop, you swerve around it. Yeah. It's a train coming. Okay, you sit and wait for the train to go across the track or go across the road. Or if it takes forever, you can just go to a different location, take a different route, right? It might set you back a little bit, but you see what I'm saying? Like,
So I get what you're saying. Short-sightedness is not always a bad thing. But I guess what I'm saying is that if you don't, like what you're saying too, if you don't know the destination, you don't have the destination in mind, then being short-sighted is a bad thing. Because you only see what's right in front of you, and you have no fucking clue what's going on or where you're gonna go.
So I guess you're right, and I guess the value I'm presenting is this, right? Is to learn to see. When you talk to me, what I say, it's always the perfect day.
Yeah.
And people be like, "Your father just died today. Is it still perfect?" Yeah. Well, you know what? Yeah, it's a perfect day. It's all gonna come to us one day like that. It's the perfect day. Yeah. Right. So in a situation, what I'm trying to say is, because if we remember, we were talking about projection issues psychologically. So now we're projecting something negative on what we call short-sightedness. Every time we meet someone who we might check fits the bill as being short-sighted, we're going to see them in a negative light, which means that we risk the potential of seeing their value. Coming from a person who leads, on enterprise change level where they give you a blank check, $1 million projects, and someone goes on the team like, oh, well, don't invite TK lazy. I'm like, oh shit, TK lazy? Yo, go get TK. I need him in every meeting. Why you want him? Because you said he's lazy. Why? Because the lazy people want to do the least amount of work. So that means that if I get TK in this motherfucker,
he's gonna optimize the fuck out of it.
He's gonna optimize the fuck out of it. You know what I mean? We're gonna be straight. Right?
Exactly.
What somebody saw as a fault. And I'm putting this on the table too. Again, you see me always saying chin up, motherfucker, right? Why are you doing that? You are Harriet Tubman. Chin the fuck up, right? Why? Right. Because if you feel less about yourself, if you are humble, somebody or something's gotta come through and restore you to your proud self. Stand you back up, man. Chin up. Right? So yeah, there's value in everything. What I say earlier, my quote is everybody, not just y'all over there. Everybody works for me as long as they do them. I just gotta figure out what the fuck you do. Okay, you lazy. Okay, cool. I'm gonna take your laziness, merge it with this over here, put it in the pot. We're gonna sprinkle some high grade on it, twist this the fuck up. We're gonna blaze this bitch, right?
Right.
And we're gonna be smoking after that. And we're gonna get right. You see what I'm saying? But right. if you come with the negative mindset of, oh, something's wrong with that person because of this title I'm assigning to them because I didn't consider the infinity, so I missed their value, that's why we still divided and hating on each other, bro.
That's
why we think we better than the next person, not realizing that we all you ain't got no more than nobody else got, because there ain't been no money in circulation since the 30s.
Right.
They telling you don't own shit. I own my house. No, you don't. You don't own your house. You're never gonna own your house.
Yeah, you don't own your house and you don't own your property. Even after you pay the loan off, the mortgage, you still have to pay rent to the state that you live in and the locality that you live in the form of taxes every year. Yeah,
it's paying rent. The technicality term is when the name on the deed is a tenant for entertainment purposes. And we know what do you think of when you hear tenant? Apartments. It's the same thing. You're the tenant.
Landlord.
Right. So you're still paying rent forever. Don't pay the rent they're gonna take, you're gonna be out. So nobody owns anything. The debt note is a debt note. So you don't have anything tangible. You have debt, right? Representation.
Absolutely.
So when I see people that's talking about I got 5 million in the bank, well, that's telling me you didn't have a plan of what to do with $5 million when you got there. So when you go
Yep.
back to that person that you said is living check to check, I was that person. Why? Because I had something to do with every fucking check, because I was struggling doing, I still am struggling doing everything myself. I don't have a sponsor. I don't have a financial backer. I don't have a rich uncle. I don't have a angel investor that gave me a check for $100 million and said, go build this shit. So that
Right.
means every fucking time I get a check, technically, if I'm really trying to maximize my shit and do as much as possible every fucking minute of every day, I don't have nothing left over until this shit take off. And that's part of the fun of the journey.
True.
So when you sitting around with $10,000 extra or $100,000 extra or $15 million extra, what the fuck are you doing with it? That means you got more than what you needed.
Yep. Yeah, it's called extra. It's an abundance of. Yep. Absolutely.
Right? So why are you see the crazy backwards, and this is what I'm saying. The United States citizen consistently practice insanity
Yep.
because they were
Yep.
trained to.
Yeah. Yeah, you were absolutely trained to by society as a whole. You know, the society shapes who you are, and then your education or lack thereof is what sticks that into place.
It's been a pleasure working with you this evening.
Oh shit, man. Like the way you position things is really interesting. Like it has me like thinking about what I'm saying and how I'm saying it.
Everything's a prayer, bro.
Yeah.
See, I'm not religious or spiritual. I did do some religious conversation or more biblical, just script,
Mhm.
like within the last couple of days because it impressed me for it. Because that's just another tool to connect with people, right?
Right,
I've
yeah.
been okay, so, but here's the quantum physics of it. Because remember we was talking about the two different languages, and I know you're probably in tune with this. I kind of got the feeling KP is. So I had the luxury of going to one of them, starting off at school, one of the little parochial schools where they made you wear the stupid little fucking uniform. They were still smacking you on your hand with rulers and shit. You used to get in trouble, had to hold the books and all that bullshit, man.
Right.
But it was a special school where we anyway. So I got pulled out of there. I had to go to public school later on because my sister couldn't get in. Fucking shit. But anyway, it's always somebody else, right? She couldn't get in, so I had to get out. What the fuck kind of shit is that? But anyway,
That's
you had to,
some shit.
you had to take the test, right? Fucking ruin my life. Nah, I'm just playing. So anyway, it's always a perfect day, right?
Right.
But what the point of what I'm saying is this. I kind of had a moment there. I lost where I was going, but we put in a lot of great work. So the word attitude, the etymology of the word attitude means position. So when I see you in a humble attitude, in a humble state, in a humble look, because state is location, it's also a state of mind, right? So if I see people in a humble state, or your attitude is the position that you're in. So when you say I put a unique position on it, it's because I'm fucking gonna bring the truth.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? The
Yeah,
truth will set you
absolutely.
free.
Yeah. It definitely will, especially once you recognize it.
This has been super dope, man.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate
You got what you got on your mind? Closing thoughts? Want to close it out? You got something else? We put a lot of work in, man.
My closing thoughts would be, if you've made it this far, start it over again.
Hold on, if you made it this far, here you go. They gotta hit you up because they made it this far.
That too, yeah.
They definitely needed something from you.
Absolutely, yeah. Just let me know. Music Making Sense Podcast everywhere and everything. MusicMakingSensePod.com. Get in contact. If you just want to check out the podcast, check out the podcast. If you want to work, let's work. But I also say, like if you've made it this far, go back to how we started this podcast. How the master architect over here,
Team sport.
Fucking yeah, I know, but you built the you built the game plan. It's interesting, like it's almost a mind fuck if you think about how we started, and then the travel the directions that we took, the path that we took to get to the destination. Dude, you fucking blew my mind at least 5 different times whenever I say something and then you're like, oh, well, you know, the etymology of that, blah, 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 and everything. And I'm like, and that's for real.
That's what it was. Thoughts or prayers. We're praying for this shit.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Why, hell yeah, man. I had fucking blast in here with you tonight, man. And we're going to do it again. Absolutely, dude.
Absolutely. So I appreciate you. I appreciate the split time, the collab, and just the fact that me and you went this far.
Mhm.
You know, I know we talking about the audience and we congratulating them and bigging them up. Me and you went this far because when you talk about the experience of the mind fucking, right?
Mhm.
It's for the greater good, but this is why people like you, me, KP, the people that watch our channels and relate to us are all having the same issues with the gym pop.
Mhm.
You know, this is why our circle's so small,
Yeah.
because they not ready to put in the work. Like we didn't all we asked each other in the beginning is, hey, how much time you got? Because I just wanted to make sure I don't go over, you know. My
Mhm.
man said, and I respect the fuck out of you for this. He said, I'm good until I get sleepy. And that's why I've been monitoring I've been monitoring you like, okay, you said you get drained. Because when you tell me, if you tell me you got an hour, I want to respect your hour. You know what I'm saying? If you tell me, you know, I'm good till 7 a.m.,
Mhm.
we 4 hours in. You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
I'm gonna go because why? Because everybody work for me as long as you do you. I just need to know what's your truth.
Mhm.
So I can make it, it's part of the greater truth, right?
Right.
The truth. Because that's the difference. You got people who go to your truth, my truth, their truth, our truth, and then there's the truth. So
Right.
once you just start playing the omnipresence and just start playing the infinity,
Sky's the limit.
and if they can't put in that work, then like attracts like. So
Absolutely.
all right.
It absolutely
So
does.
all right, we're gonna close it out, man. Pasha Pyro, Harco, say bye to the people.
Bye to the people. I'll see y'all next time, yo.
Oh, hold
Hit
on,
me up.
hold on.
Hold on.
One last thing. KP, gotta give him a little rep. He
Absolutely.
been with us with the chat. Appreciate you, big guy. He's gonna join us on the next one.
Yep.
All
And,
right.
and for those of y'all who know, KP is the co-host of Music Making Sense podcast with me. You can check us out, like I said, Music Making Sense podcast everywhere. MusicMakingSensePod.com for any and everything, streaming platforms, socials, all that kind of shit. Everything you want to find, go there, check it out.
Absolutely. And you join us next time on both platforms. You the people out there, the viewers.
Oh, sorry.
No, I know you're gonna be there, right? KP gonna be there. I was playing on KP. Said I'll join the next one.
Hey! At the beginning of this, I said I got until I start falling asleep. So when you start talking to the audience and I start answering, you know it's about time, right?
We wrap it up. Guys. I've told you I've been monitoring the condition. I've been seeing your attitude, the position.
I'm almost at 24 hours up, dude. So yeah, absolutely.
Look, I'm with you. What you say? Look, you see me over here. I was looking at my cup, like, okay, we need a coffee break. I'll go get another.
My
cup.
water's empty.
Look. Like you said at the beginning. Oh, I said you got the coffee. All right, big guy. I'm gonna let you go ahead and get up out of here. I appreciate you.
Absolutely,
I appreciate
man.
all y'all out there. Appreciate KP. I appreciate hip hop. We appreciate rap too, and we definitely now learn to appreciate new age. I'm Pasha Pyro, Hard Coast Music Making Sense podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy.